Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Chapter 48-16. Sigh. Xiaohua sighed. His mood was the same as little white dragon's. He knew that this farewell would be eternal. He was about to fly, but little white dragon still didn't know when he could ascend to the Demon League. As for the immortal world and the Demon League, it was not something that Xiaohua could understand at the moment. Xiaohua took out the Kunlun mirror and released Daoist Witch. Daoist Witch had long been human. At this time, he was already shedding tears and letting little white dragon wrap around his body. After a moment, Xiaohua put away his sadness and forced a smile. Little white, actually. It's not wise for you to stay in the Gale Abyss, not to mention leaving Bibbo and the others here. I think you should consider the predicament you will face after Big Brother leaves. After all, there were no dragons in the 10,000 demon realm before. The dragons that Big Brother brought from the 3 continents and the descendants of the 7-colored sea god Shell were all placed in the Jade Azure Sea. It's still far from the spiritual realm and relatively safe. Little white dragon nodded and said, Big Brother is right. What the first dragon has to face is what the entire dragon race should face. But what the second dragon has to face is half of what the entire dragon race has to face. When there are more dragons, this kind of direct confrontation will be less. But, no matter who comes, there must be a first dragon. Little Brother is fortunate to be the first dragon, and it is also a test for Little Brother. Little Brother feels that Little Brother should accept this test in this sky, in this earth, in this place where the demon race runs rampant. Good. Little White Dragon said this. What else could Xiaohua say? His own disciple had to break free from his wings, so Little White Dragon had more reason to walk his own path. Big Brother, don't worry. Little White Dragon smiled. Little Brother's memory has recovered a lot. After a while, it will definitely be fully recovered. Little Brother grew up in the Gale Abyss and will travel more in the 10,000 demon realm in the future. If there is something that I can't handle, I will naturally migrate to the Jade Azure Sea. Okay. Xiaohua smiled, then Big Brother won't say anything. But, Bibbo and the others. Are you going to let them out now? She. What can she think? Now that too many pythons in the Gale Abyss have died, to have more pythons and dragons, she can't wait to smile. Little White Dragon patted his chest and said, besides, I've already told her about it. She has nothing to object to. As he spoke, Little White Dragon took out a long bay and handed it to Xiaohua, saying, Big Brother, this is the corpse of the West Sea Dragon King and the Dragon Emperor of the West Sea Dragon Palace. I'll leave it to Big Brother. There are many dragons in the Fortune Gate. Big Brother can make them the Dragon Kings of the West Sea Divine Dragon Palace. Looking at the long bay in the Little White Dragon's hand, Xiaohua sighed even more. He really didn't expect that the problem that he had been vexing over for a long time would be easily solved by the Little White Dragon's retreat. Little White Dragon seemed to have withdrawn from the competition for the Dragon King of the West Sea Dragon Palace, but he had gained the entire 10,000 demon realm. Between the gains and losses, who could say for sure? What the ancient said is good, take a step back and you will be able to see the world. Xiaohua said, the ancients really didn't deceive me. With that said, Xiaohua put away Long Bay and took out the Kunlun mirror. He said to Daoist Witch, fellow Daoist, please accompany Little White and release Jade Wave and the others. Oh, also, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. If fellow Daoist has time, you can help Little White leave a few paths out. Yes, Big Brother really thought it through. Little Brother almost forgot. The Little White Dragon hurriedly cheered. Daoist Witch nodded. In that case, I ask fellow Daoists to wait for a few more days. I will be back in a moment. No problem. Xiaohua nodded. For Little White's safety, it is only right to stay for a few more days. Thank you, Big Brother. The Little White Dragon smiled and pulled Daoist Witch away. Daoist Witch was already a great sage with a 10th grade essence force, but the way the little white dragon put its arm around his shoulder was much more intimate than Xiao Hua. Seeing the little white dragon leave, Xiao Hua looked at the little white dragon's back with a complicated gaze and said, "Little white can actually let go of his hatred, this is really beyond my expectations." Huang Tong curled her lips and said, "Don't think too highly of him, he just doesn't want to leave the land of love." "If so, why would he put the land of love in the Gale Abyss?" Xiao Hua pursed his lips and smiled, "Beside the Gale Abyss, two great sages of the demon clan have fallen, it has long become the center of attention. If this is the land of love, where is it not? This is the little white dragon testing himself. I'm afraid he was forced by Jiang Hong." Huang Tong somewhat understood. No matter the reason, if he can reach this step, there will definitely be a place for him in the 10,000 demon realm in the future. Xiao Hua looked up at the hazy horizon and said, "The people, demons, dragons that need our protection are leaving one by one, we are already lonely, the roads of the 4 continents are already empty. When it's time to leave, leave." Huang Tong's heart was filled with sorrow, "Staying here is also annoying. You are not missed by anyone. But I still have people who miss me." Xiao Hua rolled his eyes at Huang Tong and said, "I can't bear to leave." "Forget it." Huang Tong laughed, "When you reach the Dawn Rain continent and Fairy Hong Xia knows that you have Princess Xixia, won't she make you kneel on a washboard?" "What's a washboard?" Xiao Hua understood what Huang Tong meant, but he still asked curiously. "The Xianyuan space is a wooden board that mortals use to wash their clothes." Huang Tong explained the origin of the washboard, and Xiao Hua laughed, "With Divine Mother Peacock's peacock plume and blood essence, would Fairy Hong Xia be willing? Are you that confident?" Huang Tong looked at Xiao Hua with interest, "When the time comes, you will still be kicked out of bed." Sweat. Suddenly, Xiao Hua's forehead was covered in sweat. Huang Tong, Feng Wu and the other clones could now freely enter and exit the space. Would he not have any secrets in the future? In order to set up the array for Little White Dragon, Taoist priest Wu spared no effort. Not only did he spend a lot of time, he also asked Taoist priest Yun to help. After 10 days, Little White Dragon returned with a smile on his face and Taoist priest Wu's shoulder. Looking at the two of them secretly laughing, those who did not know would think that they went to the dog clan nearby to steal demon fruits. Xiao Hua did not ask any more questions. He took out the Kunlun mirror and kept Taoist priest Wu. He waved his hand and said, "Little White, bring us to the space tunnel near the Hua Tian realm. We will leave now." "Okay." Little White Dragon said as he rushed into the sky. But before he could fly a few miles, he saw a whirlwind sweep him up. It was Huang Tong who took him and disappeared in an instant. Little White Dragon had already mentioned the location of the space tunnel. Now that they had arrived at the Gale Abyss, Huang Tong could naturally find it. Instead of saying that Little White Dragon was leading the way, it was more like he was sending Xiao Hua to the Dawn Rain mainland. After flying for more than 10 days, the scenery of the land changed again. Countless lofty mountains and precipitous ridges appeared like a chessboard. These ridges were different from the other ridges. There were no trees on them, and most of them were low vines and thorns sticking to the ground. What was special was that among the vines and thorns, the exposed rocks were mostly light purple, which was very strange. As for the mountains, there were also no plants. There was a lot of light purple gravel and rocks everywhere. Even ordinary rivers and streams were rare. Strange, is this the Hua Tian realm? Xiao Hua's divine consciousness swept over and saw some spirit clan members moving among the rocks and some moving under the gravel. He was stunned. Ming Hua is from the Shell clan. How did he? Thinking of this, Xiao Hua immediately laughed. Was there a need to say more? Ming Hua wanted to hide his true form from the other demon clans in the 10,000 demon realm. Naturally, he had to live in a place without water so that the other great sages would think that his true form was from the Spirit clan and not the Shell clan. Even if his great enemy, the Sea clan, chased after him, it would not be easy to find him. Big brother. Little White Dragon was not far away. Suddenly, he pointed in a direction and shouted, "I remember now. Ming Hua and I have been here before. The space tunnel is in that direction." Huang Tong glanced at his divine sense and said, "That's the northeast border of the Hua Tian realm." "Yes, it's similar to what Little White said earlier." Xiao Hua looked and nodded. "Let's hurry over there." But Little White Dragon suddenly remembered something and hurriedly said, "Big brother, didn't you promise the old ancestor to awaken Supreme Saint Ming Hua?" "Oh. It seems that the seven-colored sea god Shell has told you everything." Xiao Hua said with a smile, "This old Shell still doesn't trust me." "Hee, Big brother is well aware." Little White Dragon laughed. "Moreover, Ming Hua has helped me before. I can't forget this matter." Xiao Hua waved his hand and gave another seashell to Little White Dragon. "Big brother has delayed your trip to the 10,000 demon realm for too long. Previously, I heard from the colorful Phoenix King that the Hua Tian realm is now in a state of war. The avatar of Supreme Saint Ming Hua is probably overwhelmed. Big brother won't see him. As for Ming Hua's true form, I'll leave it to you. When the war in the Hua Tian realm is over, it won't be too late for you to see Ming Hua's avatar." "It can't be." Little White Dragon was a little stunned and hurriedly waved his hand. "How can Big brother give Ming Hua's true form to me? This is what you promised." Little White Dragon had just said this when he suddenly realized something and stopped. He looked at Xiao Hua and said, "Big brother, you are really too good to me." "It's nothing." Xiao Hua laughed. "You think too much. I'm just being lazy." "Sigh, Big brother." Little White Dragon saw Xiao Hua deny it and sighed. He took the seashell and did not explain. He understood in his heart that although he and Ming Hua had a karma, Ming Hua clearly said that this karma was only limited to the cultivation of the dragon transformation ability. When Ming Hua stopped cultivating the dragon transformation ability, it was the time when the karma between the two demon clans ended. Ming Hua left Yellow Flower Ridge and left Little White Dragon to guard the mountain. This meant that this karma had ended. In the future, Ming Hua could see Little White Dragon as a passerby. Once again, I would like to thank Cabbage and Reincarnation E as representatives of the various Taoists. Please be patient and wait for the excitement after God cultivation. Chapter 48:17. And from the way Ming Hua sealed Little White Dragon's memories, Ming Hua was more similar to the rainbow seashell's ruthlessness and cold-bloodedness, unlike Xiao Hua's nostalgia and amiability. Therefore, Little White Dragon might not be able to borrow Ming Hua's power in Gale Abyss in the future, and even have to worry about Ming Hua's secret to prevent Ming Hua from killing him. Xiao Hua had given Little White Dragon the main body of the Dark Flower, and had Little White Dragon personally restore the main body of the Dark Flower. This was a favor that Little White Dragon owed. As long as Ming Hua still had a bit of demonic nature, he would think of this kindness and take care of Little White Dragon in the 10,000 demon realm. Watching over Gale Abyss. Even when Little White Dragon's life was threatened, he would return the favor. Let's go." Xiao Hua smiled and waved his hand, grabbing Little White Dragon from Huang Tong's claws. "Send your big brother off again. If we meet again in the future, I'm afraid it will be in the Immortal Realm or the Demon League." "Big brother." Tears fell from Little White Dragon's eyes like rain. Within a few miles of space, there was a change in the weather. Although there were no dark clouds, the water element heaven and earth spiritual energy was rich. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. It started to drizzle. Although Xiao Hua and Little White Dragon's hearts were heavy, the journey was very short. In less than a few hours, 2 towering mountains were already in sight. Big brother. Little White Dragon looked at the mountain peak and said, Little brother has remembered. That place is where the spatial passageway is. Little brother tore through the void and entered the Dawn Rain continent with the dark mantra between the 2 mountain peaks. Good. Xiaohua took a deep breath and scanned with his divine sense. He didn't see anything unusual around him and said, even if you send your friend off for 1,000 miles, you still have to part in the end. Little White, cultivate well and strive to be engraved on the saint list as soon as possible and ascend to the Demon League. Yes, I understand. Little White Dragon knew that the time to leave had come. He nodded and said, I will remember Big Brother's teachings and cultivate well. You go. Biqing and Xian Yu are still waiting for you. Xiaohua let go of Little White Dragon and said with a smile. No, Big Brother. Little White Dragon wouldn't go back. He forced a smile and said, I have time to reunite with them. I should send Big Brother first. Xiaohua raised his eyes and looked at the mountain peak that was not far away. He did not force Little White Dragon. He nodded slightly and slowed down. When they reached the mountain peak, Little White Dragon used its dragon claw to point at the intersection of the 2 mountain peaks and said, Big Brother, the entrance to the spatial tunnel is there. Good. Big Brother knows. Xiaohua looked and said, you can go back. No. Little White Dragon still shook his head. Little brother will wait here. After Big Brother leaves, Little Brother will return. Seeing that Little White Dragon was like a child who was reluctant to leave its parents, Xiaohua's eyes reddened. He scolded himself in his heart for being too soft. It seemed that ever since the apocalypse of the 3 continents came, he had already been soft-hearted and cried many times. But when he looked at Little White Dragon's pitiful appearance, and then at the strange and dangerous environment of the 10,000 demon realm, he was worried that he would overshadow Yuro. Huang Tong understood Xiaohua's intentions and didn't say much. She spread her wings and flew into the sky. When she landed between the 2 mountains, she flapped her wings and used her space technique. After a moment, ripples appeared in the space. She raised her 2 phoenix claws and countless runes fell into the void. With a claw, the void was torn apart. Huang Tong's figure disappeared into it. After looking for a while, she stuck her head out and shouted, Xiaohua, there is indeed a spatial tunnel here. Got it. Xiaohua replied in a long voice. He seemed to be very dissatisfied with Huang Tong's lack of tact. Big Brother, let's go. Little White Dragon urged, the billions of creatures in the 3 continents are still waiting for Big Brother to save them. Princess Xixia is also waiting for Big Brother to marry her. Oh, Little Brother wishes Big Brother to have a child soon. Sweat. Xiaohua was speechless. Ever since he said this to Su Ji, this seemed to be the 2nd time someone said this to him. Okay, Big Brother is leaving. Xiaohua didn't dare to stay any longer. He was afraid that Little White Dragon would say something unreliable again. Goodbye, Big Brother. Tears welled up in Little White Dragon's eyes again. A drizzle appeared in the nearby sky again. Xiaohua flew into the air. He didn't avoid Little White Dragon and let Huang Tong hide in his body. Then, Xiaohua's transcendence golden body quickly changed. When a phoenix demon body of the same size was born, Xiaohua let out a long cry. He stretched out his sharp claws and tore through the void, rushing into the spatial tunnel. Seeing Xiaohua's figure disappear, layers of indescribable 4-colored brilliance appeared from the space. Then, like a blooming epiphyllum, it surged out. Waves of fluctuations also rushed out as if the space had exploded. The black and white spatial clouds also churned strangely. Little White Dragon knew that Xiaohua had already entered the spatial tunnel. It wouldn't be long before he could tear through the realm barrier and enter the Dawn Rain continent. Goodbye, Big Brother. I hope everything goes well for you. Little White Dragon said in his heart again. He was about to urge his dragon body to return to the Gale Abyss. But at this time, a strange change suddenly occurred. A silent brilliance flashed in the void and swept across Little White Dragon's dragon body. "Ayo!" Little White Dragon roared. A dazzling brilliance appeared on its dragon head. This brilliance actually turned into a serrated chain that crazily rotated around Little White Dragon's dragon head. Little White Dragon's dragon body tumbled rapidly in the air with this serrated chain, as if it was in so much pain that it had gone crazy. Boom! Little White Dragon was in so much pain that its dragon head desperately crashed into the mountain peak. The entire mountain peak collapsed. Following the collapse of the mountain peak, the spatial tunnel that Xiaohua had escaped into earlier was suffused with a layer of 7-colored brilliance. This brilliance was exactly the same as the 7 colors of the rainbow sea god shell. After this brilliance appeared, it rapidly shrank. The space within 1,000 miles of the 2 mountain peaks collapsed piece by piece. Countless amounts of heaven and earth yuan qi were born from all over. It was like a horned dragon that crashed into this collapsed space. Roar! Little White Dragon roared again. The sound shook the entire wilderness. Then, its huge dragon body tumbled in the air for a moment. With a boom, it fell from the sky. Little White Dragon had actually fainted. Almost at the same time, in the depths of the Gale Abyss, Huan Yu was swimming with her jade-white python body. Beside her, Bai Bo was also swimming leisurely. At this time, Bai Bo was no longer the size of the 3 continents. That flapping shell had already turned into 100 feet in size. Its aura was rather majestic. Beside her, those small snakes and shellfish had also begun to show signs of life. Huan Yu seemed to be saying something to Bai Bo. Suddenly, Huan Yu's expression changed. Her entire python body violently tumbled. The expression on her python head was also abnormally painful. In just a moment, Huan Yu cried out, "Huan Han!" Then, Huan Yu's twitching python body suddenly relaxed. Her entire python body slowly fell to the bottom of the deep pool. Huan Yu also fainted. "Huan Yu, Huan Yu!" Bai Bo was shocked. She chased after Huan Yu to the bottom of the pool. She really did not understand what happened to Huan Yu. Whether it was Little White Dragon, Huan Yu, or Bai Bo, they naturally did not know what had happened. At this time, the one who was most clear about what had happened should be Xiaohua. Xiaohua tore through the void and entered the space channel. Seeing those fragmented space cracks and the black and white halos flowing out from the cracks, an indescribable aura of the boundary barrier seeped out from the extremely complicated space cracks in the distance. The corner of Xiaohua's mouth rose slightly. He spread his wings and rushed into one of the space cracks with ease as if he had been here before. However, not long after he entered the space crack, the space fragments in the crack increased by a lot. These fragments floated disorderly, like thousands of ice cubes floating on the surface of an ice river. It was very difficult for Xiaohua to escape. "Hee, don't worry." Huang Tong's voice emerged from Xiaohua's mind. She smiled and said, "I have already begun to perceive the space laws of the 10,000 demon realm." "I know." Xiaohua did not break away from the sadness of parting and replied, "We have already left the 10,000 demon realm. From now on, I'm afraid we won't have the chance to come again. Understanding the space laws here and being able to use the space escape technique is already useless." While Xiaohua was talking, the fragments in the space suddenly exploded. These space fragments each had a color, and when put together, it was a 4-colored brilliance. The 4-colored brilliance carried the fierce power of space, like 4 space monsters pouncing on Xiaohua. Xiaohua was shocked and hurriedly wanted to use the space escape technique. However, at this time, black and white clouds gushed out from the space crack. As soon as these clouds came out, the space crack was like a torrential flood, suddenly exploding. Inside, there were endless 7-colored halos that swarmed out, completely confining the space around Xiaohua. The space laws of the 10,000 demon realm could no longer sense it. Bei Ming. Seeing that the 7-colored halos were so familiar, Xiaohua suddenly realized and exclaimed, This is Bei Ming's trap. Damn it, damn it. Xiaohua's heart was abnormally angry. He already understood that since Bei Ming could seal the little white dragon's memory, naturally he could also tamper with the little white dragon's memory. This space passage was a trap that he deliberately made in the little white dragon's memory. The purpose was to deceive the demons and humans who were interested in his whereabouts and lure them into the trap. This was also very easy to explain why the space power in the space fragment was so strong that even Xiaohua, a human great saint with a 10th grade elemental energy, could not withstand it. The pitiful little white dragon had always thought that his memories were real, but he had never thought that his little bit of false memories would actually lead Xiaohua into an irredeemable death situation. Damn Bei Ming. Xiaohua cursed and felt somewhat helpless. This space change was the power of heaven and earth that Bei Ming triggered. How could Xiaohua predict and resist it? The effect that Bei Ming wanted was to kill in one blow. Whether it was a demon great saint or a human great ascension stage. Chapter 48:18. Xiaohua's physical body would inevitably be torn apart if he did not put up any effective resistance against the incoming spatial power. Moreover, looking at the vastness of the spatial power, even a human great sage like Xiaohua, who had surpassed the 9th level of origin power, would most likely die. At this critical moment, Xiaohua's thoughts raced as he tried to think of a way to deal with it. But how could it be easy to find a way to resist the power of heaven and earth in such a short time? Seeing the spatial power crashing down like raging waves, Xiaohua was so anxious that sweat appeared on his forehead. He had many tricks up his sleeve, but it was impossible for him to block this spatial power that was comparable to the power of heaven and earth. But in that instant, Xiaohua's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said, Huang Tong, quickly hide in space. Huang Tong didn't answer at all. Her figure flashed, and she escaped from Xiaohua's physical body and landed on Shenhua continent. Xiaohua's body shone with golden light, and with a whoosh, his golden body suddenly shrank. When the light faded away, a world-destroying mayfly that was a few feet in size appeared. Xiaohua had actually used Qingqiu Mountain's transformation technique to turn into a mayfly. Boom! The moment the mayfly appeared, the spatial power came crashing down. Xiaohua felt as if the entire world was spinning, and layers of spatial power were like giant hands that continuously tore at the mayfly's body. However, what made Xiaohua happy was that the shape of the mayfly's body was very strange. Every time the spatial power came crashing down, the mayfly's body could narrowly avoid the most powerful spatial power, and only withstand the smallest amount of spatial power. In particular, the mayfly's body was incomparably smooth in the wave-like spatial power. It was true that Xiaohua was unable to control his body within the spatial waves, but his body that was drifting along with the spatial waves had weakened the spatial power to a level that his golden body could withstand. Phew! Xiaohua let out a long sigh, knowing that he had finally escaped from death again. Damn Bei Ming! He's really too sinister. Xiaohua couldn't help but hate Bei Ming now that he was out of danger. I really trusted this Shang Huaming's ancestor too much and let my guard down. Thinking about the actions of the rainbow sea god Seashell, I can naturally infer Bei Ming's character. Unfortunately, because he is Shang Huaming's ancestor and also Xian Wan's lover, this Xiao thinks that he is family. Unfortunately. In his eyes, the 10,000 demon realm and dawn rain continent are just foreign lands, and I am also a stranger. Thinking of this, Xiaohua's heart suddenly froze. For some reason, he suddenly thought of Shang Huaming's previous sect masters. According to what Xiaohua knew, Shang Huaming's ancestral hall didn't have any records of the sect masters' whereabouts. No one knew if they were dead or alive. Perhaps their disappearance was related to Bei Ming. Sigh. Xiaohua sighed, all the warmth looks very beautiful, but this is all seen with the eyes. But when the hypocrisy of warmth was torn apart, what was revealed was perhaps the coldness and bloodiness of reality. Never give any person you don't know the details of. The greatest luck, because what you are most afraid of is also the most likely to happen, because you already have this premonition in your heart. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Namo Maitreya Buddha chanted the name of Buddha in Xiao Hua's heart, seeming to understand Xiao Hua's feelings. The chaotic space lasted for a full hour before calming down. Xiao Hua already didn't know where he was pushed to by the power of space. However, before Xiao Hua could return to his human form, he suddenly felt a kind of fear from the bottom of his heart. Xiao Hua was shocked. He immediately felt that the originally gray void seemed to be covered by a black shadow and suddenly became pitch black. Space Beast. Xiao Hua immediately thought of the beast that Phoenix Emissary No. 9 said was lying in ambush in the void black road. This is a void. Huang Tong's trembling voice sounded, the legendary space beast in the Shenyuan space. How could it appear here? Quick, Xiao Hua, this void is the nemesis of the world-destroying ephemera. Shua. A black shadow appeared above Xiao Hua's head. It seemed to be formless, but it also seemed to have a shape. However, it was impossible to see its shape clearly in the void. An inexplicable suction force was generated from this black shadow, causing the world-exterminating mayfly's body to distort as it was sucked into the black shadow. Shua. Xiao Hua's figure twisted, and a golden light appeared from the surface of his body. The body of the world-destroying ephemera began to expand rapidly, but in a moment, a transcendence golden body of 1,000 feet in size appeared in front of the black shadow. The space beast, the void, which was attracted by the spatial tide, was not afraid of the aura emitted by Xiao Hua's body at all. Shua. With a sound, a faint shadow appeared. This shadow was thousands of feet in size, and its entire body was an outline made of lines, like a huge dragonfly. Outside its thick and long body, there were 2 wings made of thousands of feet in length, flashing a spatial hurricane and attacking Xiao Hua. Moreover, with a shua sound, the space around Xiao Hua had already shattered into countless fragments. The spatial cracks were mixed with the law of space, and they surged toward Xiao Hua's golden body. Facing a spatial storm, Xiao Hua might not be able to do anything, but facing a space beast, Xiao Hua could handle it with ease. He stood in midair, not panicking in the slightest. He raised a hand and slapped his forehead. The delirium breaker eye opened, and a silver pillar of light rotated, making a rumbling sound as it landed on the top of the void's head. The top of the void's head was also an outline made of several lines, but on the sides of the head, there were many lines that were linked together to form an eye. When the silver light of the delirium breaker eye landed on the eye, it immediately emitted a strange light. This light was like mercury, filling up all the lattices of the eye, and the silver light in each lattice rotated along with the silver pillar of light. G. The void let out a strange screeching sound, and the nearby space seemed to collapse again. However, at the same time, the void collapsed, the void's wings retracted, and the entire huge body of lines shook a few times before falling into the void. As for the spatial shockwave that had attacked Xiao Hua, it had disappeared without a trace. Huang Tong separated from Xiao Hua's space, and looked at the fallen void in disbelief, and said in shock, "Xiao Hua, you. What kind of divine ability is this?" "What divine ability?" Xiao Hua said in a bad mood, "Turn your eyes and see if you're dizzy. If you don't, then divide your eyes into thousands of pieces, and turn them at the same time." As he spoke, Xiao Hua raised his hand and was about to land, but at this moment, Taoist Witch's horrified voice sounded, "Not good. This poor Taoist soul consciousness has been destroyed. The human race of the 10,000 demon realm is in trouble." "How is that possible?" Thunderbolt Immortal shouted, "The great array that protects the human race is an innate divine restriction set up by us great saints, how could the 10,000 demon realm's great saints destroy it? Go! Xiao Hua's face sank, and he released his divine sense to put the unconscious and defenseless space beast into the Shenhua continent's confinement. His body transformed again, and when the phoenix body was born, he spread his wings and waved his phoenix claws. He had just comprehended the spatial laws of the 10,000 demon realm, and could use the spatial escape technique, and a grey spatial passage appeared in the void. Xiao Hua's body swayed, and he fell into it. Not long after, Xiao Hua flew out of the void in the direction of Daoist Witch's soul consciousness, and when he saw everything in front of him clearly, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The plains where Xiao Hua had laid down the great formation earlier were now covered in red clouds. The red clouds were covering the entire mountain peak. The red clouds were even more bizarre than the foothills on the ground. Layers of dense clouds drifted away, and large snowflakes crazily fell from the sky. These snowflakes were completely different from ordinary snowflakes, and they were green in color, with strands of silver light flashing at the edges, and they were powerful. Outside the plain, the sun and the bright sun were right above, but when the golden sunlight shone on the snowflakes, it couldn't take away the coldness at all, and it made the snowflakes even colder. Within 1,000 miles under the snowflakes, the capital star array and Pleiades demon devouring immortal array set up by the thunderbolt immortal and the other great saints had a corner broken, and where the snowflakes fell, the silver light wildly tore apart the flaws of the two great arrays. Although the Pleiades demon devouring immortal array also had a counterattack, it was powerless in the face of the overwhelming snowflakes. With the great array broken, the great city under the great array was naturally exposed on the plain. Roar! Kill. Sounds of fighting and roars of beasts could be heard from above the city. More than 100,000 enormous werewolves of various colors were wearing strange armors. Some of them were holding weapons, while others were waving their sharp claws. They had destroyed the city and were fighting against the human generals who were guarding the city. Ha! Inside the city, there were already werewolves that had broken through. Cries and screams could not be considered loud in the midst of the slaughter, but these childish cries and screams had already torn Xiao Hua's heart apart. Because he'd already noticed that a wolf that was over 100 m in size was waving its white-colored wolf claws and tearing a few young children in scholarly clothes into pieces. Moreover, within its bloody mouth, its ghastly white wolf teeth were stuffed with bits of flesh and shattered bones. Damn it. Xiao Hua's eyes were red, and he was about to take out the Kunlun mirror, but at this moment, under the snowflakes, in the sky, the void burst with ice shards, and the Snow Wolf King's figure of more than 1,000 feet appeared. The Snow Wolf King's eyes were bloodshot, and he glanced at Xiao Hua indifferently and asked, "Human great saint." Xiao Hua. Which great saint are you? How dare you touch my human race? Xiao Hua replied very naturally, but he didn't intend to wait for the Snow Wolf King's answer. With a thought, the Kunlun mirror appeared in his hand. Chapter 48:19. Unfortunately, before he could activate the Kunlun mirror to reveal its brilliance, a deafening roar came from the layers of red clouds high up in the sky. Amidst the roar, the red clouds were shattered. Swoosh! A silver-white brilliance was born, and a power that could drown everything in the world was born. This brilliance illuminated the earth, stealing the brilliance of the sun and the boundless sun above his head. This might even imprison everything within a radius of 10,000 miles. In the silver light, a shuttle-shaped magic artifact of 1,000 feet in size appeared. As soon as this magic artifact appeared, the space around Xiao Hua collapsed instantly. Xiao Hua did not even have time to activate his magic power to deal with it. The magic artifact had already crushed the space and landed in front of Xiao Hua's chest. Facing such a fierce aura from the shuttle-shaped magic artifact, Xiao Hua, who had already reached the peak of the 10,000 demon realm, felt his heart tighten. He could not help but exclaim, "Immortal! Immortal artifact!" If there was something in this world that could injure or kill Xiao Hua, it was afraid that it was only an immortal artifact. Seeing that the shuttle-shaped magic artifact was close to him, Xiaohua's soul flew out of his body. He hurriedly activated the thunder escape technique to escape. Unfortunately, before the lightning around his body could be produced, the silver brilliance in the space around him shone brightly again. Wisps of immortal spiritual energy mixed with ice were born, freezing the space around him again. Not to mention that there was no chance to escape, even the void was blocked. Damn! Damn it! Xiaohua only had time to curse in his heart. He did not even have time to look at the cold expression of the Snow Wolf King in the distance. The shuttle-shaped magic artifact had already pierced his transcendence golden body. Boom! Under the immortal artifact, there was no chance of survival. The right side of Xiaohua's transcendence golden body was instantly smashed into pieces, and these pieces were twisted into powder under the immortal spiritual energy. Only less than 40% of the wreckage on the left side was like a broken leaf riddled with holes, drifting down unconsciously in the silver light. Ha ha ha, the great sage of the human race is only a so-so. Seeing that Xiaohua had fallen into his trap and was so easily killed by the immortal shuttle, the Snow Wolf King looked up to the sky and laughed. With this kind of strength, you dare to show off in my 10,000 demon realm? These human descendants are just the flesh and blood of my wolf race. Men, kill. Following the Snow Wolf King's command, the immortal aura on the immortal shuttle immediately converged, and the pressure that suppressed thousands of miles instantly disappeared. The wolves roared and laughed wildly as they once again pounced on the human descendants of the 10,000 demon realm. The immortal shuttle had killed Xiaohua and destroyed the nearby void. The Snow Wolf King, with the body of a great saint of the demon race, was naturally unable to control the immortal shuttle. After the immortal power of the immortal shuttle was extinguished, his figure flashed again, wanting to sweep across the sky and take the immortal shuttle. But at this moment, the space beneath the immortal shuttle collapsed again. Boom boom. Following the collapse, countless strands of heaven and earth yuan qi crazily swept in like a tsunami. Bzzz bzzz bzzz. A series of strange whistling sounds rang out from the void. Then, several strands of silver immortal qi appeared from the void and slowly approached the immortal shuttle. Not good. Although the immortal qi was very weak and did not even come close to the immortal shuttle, the Snow Wolf King could already feel that the immortal shuttle, which was originally heavy as a mountain, was already somewhat uncontrollable. How could she not know that there was an Oriole hiding in the void? Who? The Snow Wolf King tried to use a secret technique to control the immortal shuttle, and said angrily, Divine Peacock Mother? Great Eagle King? Great Ape King? Humph, no matter who you are, when you dare to ruin this saint's plans, don't blame this saint for tearing apart all pretenses. Ah, you! Just as the Snow Wolf King roared, a several hundred feet large nascent soul wearing star armor appeared from the void. Wasn't this Xiaohua, the scattered nascent soul that was already at the 9 tribulation stage? How is this possible? The Snow Wolf King was shocked. She hurriedly urged the immortal shuttle to kill Xiaohua's nascent soul again while shouting, How can your primordial spirit survive under an immortal weapon? I clearly saw that your primordial spirit did not escape from the wreckage. The Snow Wolf King's shock did not fade away. Boom, boom, boom. The void near the Snow Wolf King shook again, and more than 100 quasi-9th tribulation scattered nascent souls appeared. These scattered nascent souls were in the capital star formation, trapping the Snow Wolf King in the center. Damn it! The Snow Wolf King cursed under his breath, and a silver light shone from his body. The immortal shuttle in the void also produced obscure fluctuations. Under the Snow Wolf King's urging, the immortal shuttle was like a viper in spring, waking up from hibernation, raising its head and revealing its ferocious fangs. Seeing that the immortal shuttle was under his control, the Snow Wolf King secretly rejoiced. At this time, the sound of thunder was heard again. Boom, boom, boom. The Snow Wolf King was slightly startled. He looked up and saw that behind Xiaohua's scattered nascent souls, the thunderbolt immortal flew out from the void. He raised his hand and the Kunlun mirror flew over from the distance. Puff! The thunderbolt immortal spat out a breath of thunder. Boom, boom. The Kunlun mirror shot out a beam of light, and a group of Fortune Gate disciples in armor flew out in an orderly manner. Disciples. The thunderbolt immortal's gaze swept over the Snow Wolf King like an icicle, and then swept over the violent wolf tribe below him, and ordered, "Kill the wolf tribe, no one is allowed to escape." Thunder. Thunder Spirit Great Sage, Thunderbolt. The Snow Wolf King saw the lightning around the thunderbolt immortal and immediately understood. He said anxiously, "You dare to kill my wolf tribe, this saint will not let you go. You killed my human tribe's descendant, I'm already giving your 1,000-demon realm face by not killing your entire wolf tribe." Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul had already been enraged by the great sage Minghua. Now that he saw the human tribe's descendant was injured and his body was mostly destroyed by the Snow Wolf King, he said coldly, "This old man doesn't care who you are, you will die today." After saying that, the hundreds of scattered nascent souls formed hand seals at the same time, and the whole world was imprisoned by thunder and lightning. Layers of divine thunder condensed and surged towards the Snow Wolf King. Humph! The Snow Wolf King felt the ferocity of the thunder and was naturally shocked. However, she activated the immortal shuttle, and saw the immortal shuttle vibrate, and the nearby void cracked. A powerful immortal pressure was produced, and the thunder couldn't get close at all. "You're just using a secret technique to activate the immortal tool, do you really think you can use the immortal tool?" Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul sneered. His hands rubbed again, and the fury of thunder was displayed. The sound of thunder was heard from his hands, and a faint immortal executioner stage appeared in midair. Seeing that the immortal executioner stage was beginning to condense, the Snow Wolf King had a bad feeling in his heart. "Go!" The scattered nascent soul shouted, and the immortal executioner stage fell and covered the immortal shuttle. "Kill!" The Snow Wolf King gritted his teeth, and the immortal shuttle sped up again. Unfortunately, this time was different from the last time. Although the immortal executioner stage couldn't knock down the immortal shuttle, the immortal spiritual energy on the immortal executioner stage could also compete with the immortal spiritual energy of the immortal shuttle. No matter how the Snow Wolf King urged, he couldn't make the immortal shuttle move an inch. The power of the immortal executioner stage exceeded the Snow Wolf King's expectations. The Snow Wolf King whispered, "Not good." Then the snowflakes and ice shards around him exploded, and the power of countless stars and moons wanted to tear the void and penetrate. The Snow Wolf King set up an ambush to kill Xiaohua, and Xiaohua was caught unprepared. Now that Xiaohua killed the Snow Wolf King, how could he let her escape? The thunder raged like a swarm of bees, and the Snow Wolf King didn't even have time to use any magical power. The thunder annihilated everything. The Snow Wolf King's demon body, like Xiaohua's transcendence golden body, instantly turned into smoke and dust. Even the primordial spirit inside his body swayed and gradually disappeared in the thunder. Seeing that the Snow Wolf King's body and soul were about to be destroyed, Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul breathed a sigh of relief, and was about to urge his divine sense to check the situation on the ground below. But right at this moment, the immortal shuttle, which was originally controlled by Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul, suddenly shone with silver light, and a distance that even a quasi-tribulation scattered nascent soul couldn't resist appeared on the immortal shuttle. Boom! With a loud sound, the immortal shuttle shook slightly, and immediately shattered the sound of thunder urged by Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul. Seeing the immortal executioner stage turn into fragments, Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul turned his head to look at the center of the thunder in disbelief. At this time, in the center of the thunder, a silver dot flashed like a seed, and the Snow Wolf King's originally extremely dim primordial spirit also inflated like a balloon, and the primordial spirit of the wolf clan turned into a human form in the silver light. A terrifying immortal spiritual pressure, more ferocious than the power of thunder, was emitted from the human form, and instantly shrouded the space of tens of thousands of li. Not only was Xiao Hua's scattered nascent soul suppressed by this spiritual pressure, even the Wolf Clan, Human Clan, and Fortune Gate disciples on the ground were powerless to fly, and fell to the ground one after another. Not to mention the Spirit Clan on the ground. Each of them trembled, unable to maintain their spiritual bodies, and all of them transformed into their true bodies. The Wrath of Thunder of Punishment Palace. The Human Clan's great sage Xiao Hua. How do you know the immortal world's immortal techniques? The immortal figure's voice seemed to come from the depths of his soul, penetrating the nascent soul's ears and falling on the scattered nascent soul's body. However, this immortal figure seemed to be too lazy to ask Xiao Hua about the wrath of thunder, and then flew into a rage. You really deserve to die. You just arrived in the 10,000 demon realm, and you already have this envoy's big matter. Now that you've killed the Snow Wolf King, you've turned this envoy's tens of thousands of years of hard work into nothing. If this envoy doesn't destroy your soul, how can this envoy's anger be quenched? As he spoke, the immortal figure raised his hand and pointed at the immortal shuttle, and the immortal shuttle instantly exploded, turning into hundreds of fragments. Although these fragments were smaller in size, they were several hundred times faster than before, and their power was also several times greater. In the blink of an eye, the immortal shuttle had already landed in front of Xiao Hua's scattered nascent soul. Wherever the immortal shuttle passed, the void collapsed, and Xiao Hua's scattered nascent soul's spiritual body melted like a piece of snow in a fire. Death had never been so close to Xiao Hua before. At this critical moment, lightning flares suddenly erupted from the collapsed void in the distance. Then, a black and white light curtain spread out and blasted the silvery silhouette of the immortal body away. In the light curtain, a beam of spirit-slaying yuan light, which was split into two colors, yin and yang, rushed over ferociously. Wherever the yin and yang light passed, everything was destroyed. Whether it was the collapsed space or the silvery light that carried the spiritual pressure of the immortal body, nothing could stop it. Chapter 48:20. Pooh. With a soft sound, the death spirit yuan light landed on top of the human figure's head. Unfortunately, a leopard-like silver light appeared on the immortal body's human form and blocked the spirit-slaying yuan light. Ah, death! Death Spirit Yuan Light. How can the Death Spirit Yuan Light exist in the 10,000 demon realm? The human figure was shocked and shouted in disbelief. But seeing the Death Spirit Yuan Light being blocked, he sneered, what a pity, so what if it's just an occasional Death Spirit Yuan Light? How can the mortal world's Death Spirit Yuan Light destroy my immortal? Pooh. Without waiting for the human figure to finish speaking, the death spirit yuan light trembled and immediately pierced the leopard-like silver light, piercing deep into the human figure. How? How is this possible? The human figure screamed one last time. His voice became weaker and weaker as the death spirit yuan light pierced in. Also, after the death spirit yuan light pierced in, the immortal shuttle that had touched the hundreds of scattered souls immediately disappeared. When it reappeared, it was still a complete immortal shuttle that stopped in the center of the scattered souls. Xiao Hua's scattered souls were free and didn't hesitate anymore. His body flashed and immediately disappeared from the spot as if he had merged with space. At this time, after the scattered souls, the death spirit yuan light rose and the thunder immortal turned into a human-shaped lightning. The sword gourd flashed with a black and white light. So what if you have an immortal body? Aren't you still I's defeated opponent? The thunder immortal sneered. The death spirit yuan light intersected. Pooh. The human figure's head fell from the silver light as if the real head was killed by the death spirit yuan light. Ga. Seeing the human figure being destroyed, Huang Tong broke through the air. He opened his mouth and the leopard-like silver light was immediately swallowed by him. Boom boom boom. Huang Tong's demon body let out a roar. Rays of silver light leaked out from his body and his demon body uncontrollably expanded. Countless stars and moons appeared in the void nearby. On top of Huang Tong's head, a fist-sized black hole gradually appeared. Damn it! Huang Tong felt an irresistible repulsive force. She cursed under her breath. She looked at the other silvery shadows that were gradually collapsing. Her body flashed, and she hid in the Shenhua continent. Ha! As soon as Huang Tong left, the celestial being immediately flew in and laughed. Great, I haven't been able to find a suitable primordial spirit to refine for my 10,000 extinguishing celestial dipper. This is just right. As he spoke, the heavenly being waved his hand, and the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper flew out and sucked in the remaining human figures. Fellow Taoist, don't worry. Xiao Hua's scattered nascent soul's voice came from an unknown place and said, also, more than 100 immortal body primordial spirits flew out, this item is useful to us. The celestial being was a bit stingy, but when he saw the many dispirited scattered nascent souls, he said, all right, let's make a deal. Just a little bit. As he spoke, the 10,000 extinguishing celestial dipper trembled, and a light figure smaller than a mosquito flew out. Damn it! Feng Wu flew out at this moment and cursed, fellow Taoist Xiao wants to use it, yet you're still so stingy. The celestial being was a bit embarrassed, so he stiffened his neck and said, who said that, this is for the other scattered nascent souls. Sure enough, in a moment, more than 100 similar light figures flew out, and after they fell into the scattered nascent souls, another one flew out. When these silver light figures fell into the scattered nascent souls' bodies, all of them seemed to have been brushed by the silver light, and the immortal chi around them immediately became 100 times denser. I'll have to trouble Phoenix Sage to take out some flesh. Although Xiao Hua's scattered nascent soul didn't show its figure, the powerful immortal chi had already exposed its location. Following Xiao Hua's command, Feng Wu let out a clear cry and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. When this essence blood fell into Xiao Hua's body, there was a flash of silver light, and the essence blood immediately condensed into a human figure. Then, thousands of strands of heaven and earth origin energy rushed in, and Xiao Hua's golden body slowly straightened out from the essence blood, quickly repairing itself. When the 1,000 feet golden body was formed, Xiao Hua opened his eyes, opened his mouth, and a mouthful of true chi mixed with silver fell, covering the immortal shuttle. With a gentle suction, the immortal shuttle fell into his lower dantian. Poof! Xiao Hua slapped his head, and a column of true chi came out, and more than 100 flashing silver scattered nascent souls were absorbed into his body. Finally, he breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Feng Wu, fellow Taoist, it was so dangerous today. The immortal body was destroyed, the immortal shuttle was taken, and the space within 10,000 miles gradually recovered. Tai Yang and Hao Yang also poked their heads out. Feng Wu looked around, and then looked at the Thunder Immortal who had taken the sword gourd, and sighed, it was more than dangerous, it was simply on the verge of death. We were too careless, and forgot that the laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm are different from the 3 continents. Immortals can exist without the help of a physical body. The key is. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly, we didn't expect that there would be immortals in human form in the 10,000 demon realm where there are no humans. Quick, look at the soul of the great sage of the wolf clan. Who is this immortal body? The Thunder Immortal put away the sword gourd, and flew closer while shouting. Then, he stretched out his hand and said to the Celestial, we'll share fortune and misfortune together. If we're brothers, we'll split half. Big brother, I'm refining the 10,000 extinguishing heaven dipper, okay? I'm not taking it all for myself. The Celestial was very helpless, and then, with a wave of his hand, several silver balls of light flew out, forget it, one for each of you, don't say any more. Although there were only Xiao Hua and a few others in the air, when the balls of light appeared, they instantly disappeared. Taoist Witch and the others also seemed to be eyeing covetously. Xiao Hua looked at the Thunder Immortal who swallowed the silver balls, and shook his head, when that immortal body took over the great sage of the wolf clan's primordial spirit, he had already destroyed all of his memories. He couldn't have left any clues for us. Then we'll be in trouble. Feng Wu frowns and says, this human immortal body knows that your name is Xiaohua. Moreover, if nothing unexpected happens, he must have a special secret technique that is connected to the upper realm. His main body might even know your name. When you ascend to the immortal world in the future, you'll be in big trouble. Xiaohua shrugged helplessly, and looked at the Fortune Gate's disciples killing the wolf clan's primordial spirit one by one, and smiled bitterly. Then what can I do? Since I've already done it, then let's do it. When I reach the immortal world, I'll be careful. Immortal artifact is too powerful. The Thunder Immortal was still afraid. We can't block it at all. No. The Celestial shook his head. It's not that we can't block it, it's that we fell into a trap and had no chance of blocking it. Moreover, fellow Taoist, you don't have to belittle yourself. The spirit-punishing vital light is now able to kill immortals. No. The Thunder Immortal shook his head. The spirit-punishing vital light has just been refined, like the yin-yang illustration, and it hasn't reached major completion. If it was a real immortal, the spirit-punishing vital light wouldn't be able to break through their immortal body. The one that was killed just now was merely an immortal body, and in the end, it's just a primordial spirit. Against this kind of primordial spirit, the spirit-punishing vital light is the most powerful weapon in the world. No matter. Xiaohua sneered, when I successfully refine the 5 elements heaven staff, I'll smash the immortal body into smithereens, then use the spirit-punishing vital light to kill it. Good. Feng Wu clapped his hands. This sage looks forward to seeing fellow Taoist Xiao shake the immortal world in the future. Damn it, there's still I. The Thunder Immortal hurriedly shouted, I'm the second master of the Fortune Gate. Fellow Taoists. Xiaohua said, sitting cross-legged in the air, and pointed at the array on the ground. This array has been broken by the immortal shuttle, so it can't be used anymore. Moreover, this place has been exposed. Although we can kill all the wolf tribe members, the whereabouts of the wolf tribe's great sage must be known by the other wolf tribe members. We need to find another place. That's easy. Feng Wu smiled, fellow Taoist, you can cultivate here, we'll look around. Now that we can use the space escape technique, it's convenient for us to come and go. Xiaohua cupped his hands, fellow Taoists, I'll have to trouble you. Feng Wu and the others tore through the void and left. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and looked at the ground. The Snow Wolf King had brought the elites of the wolf tribe, but these elites were nothing but paper in front of the Fortune Gate's disciples. These Fortune Gate's disciples carried Xiaohua's anger and didn't leave any leeway, killing the wolf tribe members on the spot. Normally, Xiaohua would release the Netherworld Origin Force, and whether it was the demonic beasts or humans, they would be sucked into the inside of the space. But today, he was really angry. He only collected the souls of the Fortune Gate's disciples, and let the souls of the other wolf tribe members enter the cycle of reincarnation as they wished. When the 3 moons rose into the sky, the werewolves around the city were all killed. A group of human cultivators flew around in a hurry. They were either repairing the city or helping the scholar or the Arhat to clean up the mess. Forget it. Xiaohua sighed, fellow Taoists, this place has been discovered by the 10,000 demon world. Clean it up, I'll take you to another place. Many thanks, Taoist Xiao. When everyone heard this, they didn't dare to delay and hurriedly packed up. When dawn came, Confucian cultivators and Buddhist sect experts flew up and respectfully greeted Xiaohua. Xiaohua's gaze swept across these human cultivators, and he said kindly, this old man has already said before, the 10,000 demon world is not like the 3 mainlands, it's more dangerous than the 1,000 demon sacred realm. Previously, it was only the wolf tribe that came. If the ape tribe, eagle tribe, and others discover the secret of this place, I'm afraid this old man won't be able to come again. When he spoke up to hear, Xiaohua changed the topic and said, "Of course, the situation this time is slightly special. The great sage of the wolf clan has come in person. Even I suffered a loss at her hands, let alone all of you. This old man has already killed the wolf tribe's great sage and ordered the Fortune Gate's disciples to kill the invading wolf tribe members. Presumably, the news of this place won't be easily leaked. Wait for this old man to move you all to another place, it should be able to delay for a while, and everything after that will depend on you all." Chapter 48-21. Thank you, Spiritual Master Xiao. The human cultivators were all grateful and said in unison, "Since we bear the heavy responsibility of continuing the human race's bloodline, we have already made some preparations. Today's matter can be considered as having been expected. In the future, we will be more careful and cultivate harder." "Good." Xiaohua nodded, "You can wait, there is no need to wait here. This old man is also injured. When I recover, the other fellow cultivators will help me find a suitable place, and this old man will take you all there." In the 3 continents, thousands of people had thousands of faces, tens of thousands of hearts. Xiaohua's actions fell into the eyes of these people, and it was inevitable that they would have other thoughts. But here, they truly understood Xiaohua's heart and benevolence. They all bowed and said curiously, "Yes, this junior will leave. 10 days later, the celestial being was the first to return. Looking at his smug expression, he must have found a suitable place." Subsequently, Feng Wu, Lightning Taoist, and the others also turned around. After a brief discussion, they felt that these places were not bad. Hence, Xiaohua asked his avatars to lead a group of Fortune Gate's disciples to build big cities in these places, and set up grand formations. He even set up transmission arrays between these cities. Not to mention Xiaohua taking advantage of his quiet cultivation and Huang Tong refining the human form of the immortal body and the leopard-shaped silver light, taking the opportunity to build the famous 4 big cities of the 10,000 demon realm for the survival of the human race in the future. At the edge of the Hua Tian realm, the little white dragon that fell to the ground was unconscious for more than 3 days before slowly waking up. He looked at the mountain peak he crashed into with some surprise, then looked around for a moment, and his eyes showed confusion. After staring at the void in the middle of the mountain peak for a stick of incense, he recalled something and patted his dragon head that was as painful as being hit by an axe, and said curiously, "Damn it, what happened? Big Brother has already gone to the Dawn Rain continent, why did I faint from a headache? Could it be that when the old ancestor unlocked the seal, he left something behind? This. What did Big Brother say before he left? Why can't I remember at all?" Thinking about it, the little white dragon flew up from the ground, identified the direction, and headed towards the Gale Abyss. The little white dragon flew back to the Gale Abyss, but the entire Gale Abyss was not different. However, what puzzled little white dragon was that Hu Yu did not come to welcome him. The one who came forward was actually Jade Wave. Seeing this, little white dragon was furious. Although he did not get angry in front of the other Python clan members, when he returned to the deep pool, he scolded without saying a word, "Jade Wave, what are you doing? This is not the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm, nor is it the Shell Clan's demon realm. If you want to fight for power, feel free to return to the 1,000 Demons' sacred realm. Don't make me unhappy here." Jade Wave wasn't angry either. She said in a low voice, "Darling Xiao, please follow this concubine." "What?" Little White Dragon was as confused as a monk. But when he saw the unconscious Xingyu, he was once again shocked. Beside him, Jade Wave said in a low voice, "When I saw that little sister Xingyu had suddenly fainted, I was afraid that there might be a change in Gale Abyss, so I used little sister Xingyu's order to handle the affairs of Gale Abyss for the past few days. Xiao Lang, please don't blame me." Don't blame me." Little White Dragon shyly used his dragon claw to transform into a large hand. He pinched Jade Wave and said, "Your husband can't thank you enough. Jade Wave, said, Darling Xiao, it's good that you understand my heart. Go ahead. Your husband will see what's wrong with Xingyu. Little White Dragon nodded. He patted Jade Wave and sent her away. However, when Little White Dragon released his primordial thought for a moment, he didn't see anything unusual with Xingyu. Just as he was frowning, Xingyu actually groaned and woke up on her own. Xingyu. Little White Dragon was overjoyed. He hurriedly asked, What happened to you? Why did you suddenly faint? Xingyu was also surprised. She looked around and shook her head slightly. I don't know what happened either. Maybe it's because I haven't fully recovered from my previous injuries. That should be the case. Little White Dragon nodded. He took out a medicinal pill from the dragon shell and handed it to Xingyu. This is a medicinal pill refined by my big brother. Take it and cultivate well. Yes. Xingyu took the medicinal pill. She didn't consume it immediately. Instead, she asked, The great sage of the human clan has left, right? Yes. Little White Dragon looked sad. They've already entered the spatial passage. I think they've arrived at the Dawn Rain continent by now. Didn't Xiaohua say anything to you? Xingyu asked again. Little White Dragon was having a headache. How could he think of what Xiaohua said? He shook his head and said, Big brother and the others just entered the spatial passage. I had a splitting headache and also fainted. I just woke up. I don't think Big brother said anything to me. He only told me to cultivate well and strive to become a great sage of the dragon clan as soon as possible. Xingyu smiled and nodded. Yes, the great sage of the human clan is so kind to you. You should cultivate well and not let him down. I definitely will. Little White Dragon said. His dragon tail wrapped around Xingyu again. He whispered, Are you really okay? Xingyu's python body shook. She pushed Little White Dragon's tail away and shook her head. I also have a splitting headache. My whole body is sore. I can't deal with you. You'd better go find big sister Jade Wave. You should rest more. Seeing that Xingyu was unwilling, Little White Dragon did not force her. He said a few more words and urged his body to leave. Xingyu looked at Little White Dragon's dragon body leaving. Her eyes were full of doubts. Soon, half a year passed. There were no changes in the swift wind abyss. It was just as Little White Dragon had thought. Because the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King, two great sages of the demon clan had fallen here. Although the demon clan of the 10,000 demon realm was shocked by these two news, no demon clan dared to come to the swift wind abyss. Of course, the territories of the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King were also constantly encroached by other demon clans. Both the Ape Clan and the Lion Clan were exhausted and did not have the spare energy to come to the swift wind abyss to cause trouble. Of course, Little White Dragon did not dare to let down his guard. He placed his beloved concubine and descendants in the soul formation. If there was any trouble, he would be ready to react at any time. Just as Little White Dragon felt that he was about to start a new life, a huge spatial crack suddenly tore open in the sky above the swift wind abyss. Xiaohua and Huang Tong flew out of the spatial crack. At this time, the deep pool of the swift wind abyss was surging with huge waves. Little White Dragon was playing with a Shell Clan member when he saw a familiar aura falling from the sky. Little White Dragon exclaimed. He kicked the Shell Clan member into the bottom of the pool and rushed into the sky. Seeing Xiaohua frowning in the sky, Little White Dragon was overjoyed. Big brother, you're back. Little brother, congratulations on your success in saving the world. Bullshit. Huang Tong said coldly. We didn't even leave the 10,000 demon realm. Huh? Little White Dragon was shocked. He cried out in disbelief, That's impossible. I saw you enter the spatial passage with my own eyes. After we entered the spatial passage, what did you see? Did you feel anything strange? Xiao Hua asked worriedly. Little White Dragon told him what he saw and said. Little brother was unconscious for 3 days before returning to the swift wind abyss. Damned Ming Hua, damned rainbow sea god shell. Xiao Hua gritted his teeth. What I thought was right. Little White Dragon was the same as this Xiao. He had also narrowly walked on the edge of death. Since Ming Hua used Little White Dragon's memory as bait to trick me, how could he let Little White Dragon live? When we stepped into the spatial passage, the seal that Ming Hua left in Little White Dragon's mind was also activated. Fortunately, before Little White Dragon came to the 10,000 demon realm, the Rainbow Sea God Shell had already unlocked most of the seals in Little White Dragon's mind. Otherwise, Little White Dragon would not have escaped this disaster. Big brother. Little White Dragon was stunned and said anxiously, "What is going on? That spatial passage is fake. It was a trap that Ming Hua made in the void." Xiao Hua explained. In order to guard against you and prevent you from leaking the information, Ming Hua did something in your mind. If you leaked this spatial passage, on one hand, this spatial passage would kill the demon clan that was looking for it, and on the other hand, it would also kill you. Fortunately, the Rainbow Sea God Shell had already unlocked most of the memories in your mind, so you were not killed by Ming Hua. Oh, speaking of this seal, it must be the one that the Rainbow Sea God Shell told me before, the seal that I had no confidence in. It was also because of this seal that the Rainbow Sea God Shell's promise to me was extinguished. Moreover, until the end, the Rainbow Sea God Shell still hid it from me. This seal that the Rainbow Sea God Shell did not understand the most, she did not unlock it. So that's it. Little White Dragon finally understood. He thought for a moment and secretly shook his head. Looking at his sad appearance, he obviously knew that Xiao Hua was right. That great Saint Ming Hua also had such a character. Ha! At this moment, in the deep pool, Shuiyu flew out of the water and asked respectfully, "Big brother, why didn't you leave?" Hee, Xiao Hua laughed. Something went wrong with the spatial passage, so I had to come back. "Io, then what should we do?" Shuiyu was also very anxious. "No matter." Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "I'm going to go to the Hua Tian realm personally to find Great Saint Ming Hua and ask him about the spatial passage. Today, I'm here to ask Little White for that long bay." "Long bay? What long bay?" the Little White Dragon asked in confusion. Xiao Hua said curiously, "It's the long bay that I gave you before I left." As he spoke, Xiao Hua whispered a few words. "Io, I remember now." Little White Dragon hurriedly took out a long bay from the dragon scale and handed it to Xiao Hua. "My mind was in a mess and I forgot about it." Chapter 48-22. Okay. Xiao Hua kept the dragon shell and said, "Big brother is going to find great sage Ming Hua. There might be a fierce battle, so you don't have to go." "Big brother." Without waiting for Little White Dragon to speak, Huyu hurriedly said, "Little White and I will accompany Big Brother. After all, we are more familiar with the situation in the 10,000 demon realm. If this matter can be resolved peacefully, won't our Gale Abyss be able to have a connection with Great Sage Ming Hua of the Hua Tian realm? In the future, when Big Brother is not here, can we ask Great Sage Ming Hua to take care of our Gale Abyss?" Xiao Hua looked at Little White Dragon and then looked at Huyu, as if he was in a difficult position. He then asked, "Little White, what do you think?" "Of course." Little White Dragon laughed, "To be able to accompany Big Brother to the Hua Tian realm is exactly what I want. However, Huyu, your strength is not enough, so it's better not to go. With Big Brother here, where can't I go in the 10,000 demon realm?" Huyu rolled her eyes at Little White Dragon and laughed. Xiao Hua whispered a few words and discussed with Huang Tong, "Since you want to go, then let's go together. There's no need to rush this time." Little White, you take Hu Yu and we will go to the Hua Tian realm. Little White Dragon did not know why Hu Yu wanted to go to the Hua Tian realm, but seeing that she was so concerned about Xiao Hua's matter, he smiled and was about to take her to the sky. Unexpectedly, Hu Yu said, "Big brother, I heard that the war in the Hua Tian realm is urgent. If you are looking for Great Sage Ming Hua, why don't you come as soon as possible? If Great Sage Ming Hua and Demon King Mo Sa fight, won't Big Brother's matter affect Demon King Mo Sa?" Xiao Hua looked at Hu Yu and nodded, "You are right. In that case, please take Great Sage Huang Tong, I will take Little White Dragon and rush over as soon as possible." Okay. Huang Tong spread her wings and reached out her phoenix claws to grab Hu Yu. Her figure whistled and immediately rushed into the sky. When Xiao Hua saw Huang Tong leave, he waved his hand and brought Little White Dragon with him. However, after flying for a while, Xiao Hua whispered, "Little White, Big Brother wants to ask you, did you encounter anything unusual along the way back from the Hua Tian Realm's mountain?" The Little White Dragon stared blankly for a moment before shaking its head in confusion. "No. I didn't encounter anything unusual. Supreme Saint Ming Hua's clone did not appear?" Xiao Hua asked again. "No." Little White Dragon shook his head. "I didn't think too much about it, so I didn't notice. However, we didn't encounter anything unusual along the way." "What about Gale Abyss? Nothing out of the ordinary recently?" Xiao Hua was even more puzzled because he knew in his heart that Ming Hua's main body was in his Long Bay. The Ming Hua that had appeared in the Hua Tian realm now was definitely Ming Hua's clone. Since Ming Hua's restriction in the spatial passageway had been activated and the restriction in the Little White Dragon's mind had been activated, it was impossible for Ming Hua's clone not to know. "No." Little White Dragon shook his head like a rattledrum. He didn't know about the restriction before, but now that he knew, he naturally understood what Xiao Hua was asking. He said, "Indeed, there isn't. Not only did Great Sage Ming Hua's clone not come, but even the clones of the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King didn't appear." "Humph, it would be strange if the clones of the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King dared to appear." Xiao Hua snorted coldly and looked forward again. He opened his mouth and wanted to ask something, but before he could say anything, he hesitated and swallowed his words. His figure flashed and his speed increased a lot. In a short while, he had caught up with Huang Tong. Before Xiao Hua came to Gale Abyss, he had already been to the spatial trap near the Hua Tian realm. The space crack still existed, and it was obvious that it had always been there, but the enchantment inside had completely disappeared. Moreover, the space crack also had an end, and the end was still in the 10,000 demon realm. It had nothing to do with the space barrier of the 10,000 demon realm. Therefore, when he came to the Hua Tian realm this time, he naturally didn't have to go there. Huang Tong went in another direction under the guidance of Hu Yu. Xiao Hua caught up with Huang Tong. After flying for a while, he raised his voice again. "Fellow cultivator, flying like this is still too slow. I'm afraid it will take more than 10 days to reach the Hua Tian realm. Didn't Hu Yu say that the Hua Tian realm is in a state of war right now? It's best if there are no changes." Heh, I understand." Huang Tong smiled slightly. One of her phoenix claws held onto Hu Yu while the other waved. Runes flowed and a spatial crack appeared. Huang Tong rushed into the crack without turning back. Without waiting for the spatial crack to disappear, Xiao Hua also rushed in with Little White Dragon. When Little White Dragon's eyes flashed, black and white light overflowed like a kaleidoscope. His eyes instantly lit up. During class, just as his eyes lit up, Xiao Hua snorted coldly again. Humph! At the same time, a drum-like voice sounded in the void. "Which demon dares to ruin this king's plans?" However, before Little White Dragon could hear clearly, his eyes lit up. Xiao Hua's grip on Little White Dragon loosened. Little White Dragon knew that they had arrived at the Hua Tian realm. Boom boom boom. Without waiting for Little White Dragon to look down, a series of roars came from the ground. The strangest thing was that among the roars, there were also goo 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 sounds that sounded like the usual croaking of frogs in the lotus pond in the Xiaoyu continent. Squeak 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 squeak. Accompanied by the croaking of frogs, there were also the sounds of crickets chirping. If not for the bright sunlight in front of Little White Dragon's eyes, Little White Dragon almost suspected that it was already night time. When Little White Dragon looked towards the direction of the strange sound, he was stunned. Then, ha 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 ha. Little White Dragon actually lay down in midair. A pair of dragon claws hugged his chest as if he was holding his stomach, and he let out an earth-shattering laugh. Hee hee. Not to mention Little White Dragon, even Xiao Hua and Huang Tong, when they saw the situation on the ground with their divine senses, couldn't help but laugh. Below everyone, there were groups of toads all over the mountains and plains. These toads were the demon spirits of the 10,000 demon realm. Each of them was hundreds of feet tall, and even hundreds of feet tall. However, looking from the sky, they were not much different from ordinary toads in a pond. There were patches of dark green mixed with the occasional white belly, as if they were going to cover the entire ground. It was a spectacular sight. Of course, just the toads alone wouldn't make Little White Dragon laugh so wildly. Right in front of the toad army, there were clumps of yellow demon spirits that looked like grasshoppers. Similarly, they surged over from the other side of the earth. It was the autumn harvest season, and in the rice fields, how could the sh-sh-sh-sh-sh-sh sound not make people feel like they were going to the countryside? Xiao Hua and the others arrived. On the ground, the two armies of demon spirits that had already begun to fight did not notice them. However, Little White Dragon's laughter was really loud, and the momentum of the dragon's aura was even more obvious. Before Little White Dragon could fly into the sky, there were already dozens of toads that were hundreds of feet tall. They stepped on the demon clouds and rushed into the sky. Where are you, demon spirits? How dare you break into my Tsang army? The toad in front was wearing an inexplicable armor. The outer layer of its skin was green with traces of gold. Before it could fly into the sky, it immediately opened its mouth and shouted. Its voice was louder than the beating of a drum. Layers of ripples were created along with the voice, like ripples of water, rippling in front of Xiao Hua and the others. Humph! Little White Dragon sneered. Its huge dragon body suddenly flipped over and opened its mouth. Roar! A dragon's roar broke the sound waves in an instant. Moreover, a hurricane blew up and made the toad's bulging belly ripple. Damn it! Since the toad could command an army, its divine power was naturally not comparable to Little White Dragon's. Seeing Little White Dragon's aura so strong, it felt fear from the bottom of its heart. The toad couldn't help but curse in a low voice. Its mouth made a few goo-goo sounds, and the power of the stars and moon fell from the sky. Its snow-white belly instantly swelled up. Forget it. Xiao Hua withdrew the smile on his face and said, "Your family's demon king Masa will be here soon." "What are you doing here?" Xiao Hua raised his hand and pointed. Instantly, the power of the stars and moon around the toad disappeared. The toad's bulging belly rapidly shrank. "You! Where are you from?" The toad turned pale with fright and asked anxiously, "Could it be that Minghua found a helper?" "Damn thing!" Shuiyu said angrily, "This is the human race's great sage Xiao Hua. That's the phoenix race's great sage Huang Tong." Ah! The toad's eyes widened. Unfortunately, before it could say anything, its eyes rolled back and it fainted. It fell straight from the sky. The human race's great sage Xiao Hua killed the great ape king and the rainbow lion king in one day. His ferocious reputation was too resounding. This toad general, whose strength was comparable to a 7th level essence power, actually fainted from fright when it heard Xiao Hua's name. When this toad general fell from the sky, the other toad generals didn't pay any attention to it. They all stomped on the ground and frantically fled in all directions. It was as if they would be killed by the soul-slaying vital light if they were even a moment slower. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he rubbed his nose. He raised his hand and caught the fainted toad general. He said, "Damn it, if this toad falls to its death, this old man's reputation will be ruined. Whoever mentions it, won't they say that this old man bullied the weak and scared this toad to death?" However, when Xiaohua threw the toad general to the ground, the toad flipped over and demonic clouds rose around it. Its body crashed into the ground and disappeared. Is this still a toad? How can it be so cunning? Little White Dragon was dumbstruck again. He really couldn't figure out whether this toad general had fainted just now. Or fainted. More than 10 toad generals deserted in the face of battle. It was like more than 10 stones falling into a pool of water. The ripples caused by the water ripples caused the entire toad army to begin to disperse. Cast a monthly vote, a recommendation vote, a collection, a tip, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 48-23. Seeing the toad army inexplicably retreating, a group of grasshoppers either bounced their legs or fluttered their wings. They waved their forelegs that were many times longer than ordinary grasshoppers and began to chase the toads in all directions. At this moment, an earth-shattering croak of a frog resounded in the distant sky. Croak. Under the sun, a shadow the size of a dozen acres appeared. The shadow was heavier than the clouds, and it tore the void apart. Then, in the shadow, a golden light flashed, and a toad the size of 1,000 feet jumped out from the void. Damn it! Xiaohua looks at the golden stripes on the huge body of the toad, which looks like a gorgeous coat. He can't help but bitterly smile. People often say that a toad wants to eat swan meat. Wishful thinking. Now, this Xiao has no choice but to believe that toads can sometimes eat swan meat. It's just that this toad is wearing a golden robe. As soon as the giant toad appeared, an aura that was second only to a great saint of the demon race immediately covered the entire area like a hurricane. The grasshopper demon spirits that were chasing after the toad army either trembled all over or fled frantically in fright. Not a single one of them dared to chase after the toad army. Is this Demon King Masa? Xiaohua looked at the giant toad and asked in a low voice. This. Little White Dragon looked at Xueyu, and Xueyu also looked at Little White Dragon. Both of them shook their heads and said, "We don't know. After all, it's Demon King Masa of the Zhongyuan territory. We've never seen him before." "I'm afraid so." Huang Tong said in her heart, "Don't forget, that little girl named Dai, from beginning to end, never mentioned Demon King Masa's appearance. It should be because she disdained or didn't dare to mention it. Afraid of losing Xian Wan's face. Sweat." Xiaohua suddenly thought again, since Xian Wan married a toad, then does she think everyone is handsome? Since Minghua doesn't dare to show his true body in the demon realm, then he. Thinking, Xiaohua's gaze fell on the grasshoppers flying around. Little White Dragon. Xiaohua hurriedly asked, "What kind of demon spirit is Minghua? Is it this kind of grasshopper with thin arms and legs and a big belly? How is that possible?" Little White Dragon hurriedly replied. Great Sage Minghua. At this point, Little White Dragon was at a loss for words. Its pair of dragon eyes flashed with a golden light. After a moment of hesitation, it said, "I remember that Great Sage Minghua seemed to be a demon spirit in the shape of a python. But when I think about it carefully, it's vague. I can't be sure." Yes. Xiaohua understood that Minghua must have used some kind of shell race ability to conceal his true body. Every demon spirit would see a different appearance, and this appearance would be similar to every demon spirit. Little White Dragon saw the Python clan, while Xian Wan saw the Flying Feather clan, which looked like a swan. If that's the case, then Xian Wan's attraction to dark mantra will naturally be far greater than this toad's. Just as Xiao Hua was silently cursing, the giant toad kicked its legs and turned into a stream of light. It instantly appeared in front of Xiao Hua and the others. The toad's flashing gold eyes looked at Xiao Hua and then at Huang Tong. Its expression was uncertain. Seeing the toad hesitate, Xiao Hua decided to speak first. This old man is Xiao Hua. Are you Archfiend Masa of the Cangyuan realm? Hearing Xiao Hua's calm tone, the toad hurriedly bowed and said, Archfiend Masa greets the human race's great sage. I didn't know that a great sage had come. My words were a bit offensive. Please forgive me. Then, without waiting for Xiao Hua to speak, Archfiend Masa bowed to Huang Tong and said, Greetings to the Phoenix race's great sage. Archfiend Masa's body was enormous, and his front legs were short and thick. He didn't cup his fists like a human, but when he placed his front legs in front of his chest and lowered his fat head, he looked extremely awkward and comical. But in the face of this famous archfiend, Little White Dragon and Little White Dragon didn't dare mock him. Archfiend Masa's attitude was respectful, so Xiao Hua couldn't make things difficult for him. Xiao Hua raised his hand and said, You're too polite. Huang Tong glanced coldly at Archfiend Masa, then raised her head and gazed off into the distance. Archfiend Masa didn't find Huang Tong's disdain strange. Rather, he was a bit uncomfortable with Xiao Hua's politeness. He hurriedly asked respectfully, Might I ask? Why have you two great sages come? But after saying this, Archfiend Masa seemed to think of something. He hurriedly added, But if you two great sages have been entrusted by the Swift Cherry Sage to mediate, then don't blame me for not giving the great sage face. Even if the great sage uses the spirit execution origin light, I. Archfiend Masa said I a few times. Although he didn't say anything else, the decisiveness in his eyes didn't diminish in the slightest. It was as if even Xiao Hua's spirit execution origin light couldn't extinguish the anger in his heart. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, Archfiend Masa, you think too much. The fight between you and Great Saint Minghua has nothing to do with me at all. I'm just here to ask Great Saint Minghua one thing. If you hadn't set up a restriction in the void, I definitely wouldn't have let you know my whereabouts. That's good. Archfiend Masa nodded and said, As long as the Great Sage doesn't interfere with the grievances between me and Minghua, the Great Sage can go and see Minghua. However, Great Sage, my Cangyuan realm's army has already besieged the Hua Tian realm for several years, but I've never seen Minghua. I don't know if the Great Sage will show himself when you come. Humph. Huang Tong sneered, Can you stop us wherever we want to go? You're just a archfiend, not even a great sage of the fiend race. You're actually so daring to lead an army to besiege the territory of a great sage of the spirit realm. Don't you want to live anymore? Even if I don't want to live anymore, I want Minghua to come out and give me an explanation. Archfiend Masa's neck stiffened, and he shouted with a somewhat red face. Xiao Hua was originally in a hurry to go to the Dawn Rain continent, so he didn't think about why Archfiend Masa had besieged the Hua Tian realm. But now that he saw Archfiend Masa's embarrassment, his heart unconsciously moved as if he had a premonition. He looked at Huang Tong and seemed to understand the meaning of his words. He smiled and said, Great Sage Huang Tong's words are also the doubts in my heart. When I heard that you led an army to attack Minghua, I also didn't understand. You actually dared to challenge a great sage of the spirit race without fear of death. There must be a reason behind it. This reason. Can you tell me? This. Archfiend Masa stuttered again, and a layer of red appeared on his face. At this time, Toad Battle Team had already scattered Grasshopper Battle Team. And behind them, like towering mountains and precipitous ridges, mountain spirits' footsteps shook the earth and welcomed them. Toad Battle Team began to organize their formation, preparing to attack. Damn it! Archfiend Masa roared and opened his mouth. Immediately, a fierce wind rose, and a voice resounded between heaven and earth, Minghua. Come out if you have the guts. Explain things clearly. Are you still a great sage of the fiend race if you're so cowardly? Are you worthy of being the master of the Hua Tian realm? Unfortunately, there was no response from the place where the voice passed, only the wind whistling between the mountains mercilessly mocking. Did you see that? Archfiend Masa's tone was rather helpless, and he said dejectedly, Minghua won't show himself no matter what, I can't do anything to him. Looks like. If that matter wasn't true, he wouldn't dare to come out and confront me. Then it should be like what the fast cherry sage said, Minghua disdains to confront me. If you have the guts, why don't you just kill your way to the Foundation Hall? Little White Dragon asked curiously, if you go to the Foundation Hall, are you afraid Minghua won't come out to see you? Do you dare to go to my Masa Palace? Archfiend Masa didn't directly answer Little White Dragon, and instead asked a question of his own. How would I dare to go? Little White Dragon stuck out his tongue, understanding Archfiend Masa's meaning. As expected, Archfiend Masa said coldly, even you don't dare to go to my Masa Palace. How would I dare to use my Archfiend power to force a great sage of the Hua Tian realm? Damn it, what's going on? Say it. Little White Dragon was a little flustered and exasperated. You've already led troops to attack the Hua Tian realm, are you still afraid that others won't know? This. Archfiend Masa hesitated for a moment, and finally spoke, briefly explaining the cause of the matter. Although Archfiend Masa didn't want Xiao Hua to know the details, when he heard the words, Queen of the Qin School Palace, Xiao Hua was already enlightened. The unclear ambiguity between Xian Wan and Ming Hua had already been exposed to the world. Archfiend Masa couldn't hold back the anger in his heart, and led troops to the Hua Tian realm to demand an explanation from Ming Hua. However, when Archfiend Masa finished speaking, Xiao Hua frowned again, because what Archfiend Masa said was still different from what Xiao Hua knew. According to Archfiend Masa, Queen of the Qin School Palace, Xian Wan, was hiding in the Hua Tian realm, flying together with Ming Hua. Since Xiao Hua was the one in the 10,000 demon realm who knew the whereabouts of Xian Wan and Ming Hua the best, of course the ins and outs of this matter were as clear as fire. He smiled and asked, since she's your beloved concubine, why isn't she in the Qin School Palace? Even if she's not in the Qin School Palace, where did she go, how could you not know? Moreover, don't forget, since she's already your concubine, why would she blatantly look for other demons? Although this Ming Hua is also a great sage, he's not the only great sage in the 10,000 demon realm, right? The Origin Clan's Profound Grand Sage and Swift Cherry Grand Sage are also great sages who are not inferior to Ming Hua. Do you think your concubine is so brainless? You still say that it wasn't the Swift Cherry Grand Sage who invited her. Archfiend Masa's face turned red, and he anxiously said, you're saying the same thing as the Swift Cherry Grand Sage. Hee hee. Xiao Hua laughed, this old man came from outside the realm, and I'm not related to your Swift Cherry Grand Sage. What qualifications does she have to invite this old man to be her lobbyist? This old man is just like the Swift Cherry Grand Sage, an outsider who can see clearly at a glance. Moreover, presumably the other great sages also know, but they don't want to say it, they just want to see you make a fool of yourself. Chapter 48-24. How is that possible? Demon King Mosa was a bit angry. Alright, let's put it this way. Xiao Hua saw that this was Xian Wan's matter, so he couldn't just leave it alone. Thus, he smiled and said, who told you that your empress is in the Hua Tian realm? Call him over. This old man just happens to be going to the Foundation Hall, so I might as well bring you along. This. Demon King Mosa hesitated and couldn't speak for a long time. Xiao Hua understood even more and raised his hand, that is to say, the information you received was not personally told to you by other demons. It was just hearsay. But since she is not in Hua Tian realm, not in Foundation Hall, why doesn't Heavenly King Hua dare to come out and say a word? Demon King Mosa argued. Xiao Hua smiled, this old man doesn't know if he will come out or not. But let me ask you again. Why is your empress not in Song Yuan realm? She felt that Qin School Palace was a bit boring and wanted to go out and travel. Demon King Mosa whispered, I know she is used to living in Sky Dome Upper Realm and is not used to Qin School Palace, so I agreed. I wanted to accompany her but she didn't agree, so I could only let her go. I think. In 10,000 Demon Realm, who doesn't know my name, who doesn't know who she is? As long as she doesn't go to Jade Azure Sea or the Three Wastelands, nothing will happen. But your empress just had to go missing? Xiao Hua asked knowingly. Yes. Demon King Mosa said dejectedly, at first there was some news but a few hundred years ago. There was suddenly no news. I searched for a long time but couldn't find her. That Blessing Palace. I thought I did something and almost interrogated me. There hasn't been any news for hundreds of years. Suddenly, an inexplicable message tells you that your empress is in the Hua Tian realm with Heavenly King Hua. You didn't think much about it at all, did you? Xiao Hua asked. You immediately led your troops here. That's not it. Demon King Mosa argued, Heavenly King Hua is after all a great saint of the spirit race. No matter how bold I am, I wouldn't dare to rashly lead an expedition. I first sent an envoy to invite Heavenly King Hua to the Mo Sa Palace for a banquet. I wanted to ask him about this matter in private, but he didn't show up. As for this matter, I can't say it out loud. I can only look for an opportunity to inquire. But at this time, her matter in the Hua Tian realm suddenly spread, and many great sages knew about it. Seeing this, I also had doubts in my heart. Thus, I once again invited Heavenly King Hua to my Mo Sa Palace, hoping that he could clarify the matter. However, he still didn't show up. In the end, I had no choice but to personally go to Foundation Hall. Huh? You actually went to Foundation Hall? Little White Dragon found it strange. That's right, but Heavenly King Hua still refuses to see him. Demon Monarch Mosa nodded. He only told the other demon spirits to send a message saying that everything was just a rumor. He told me not to believe it. That's right. It's just a rumor. You shouldn't have believed it. Hu chimed in. But Monster King Mosa ground his teeth. Although I'm not a great sage, I'm still Monster King Mosa. He actually refused to see me. Did he just send me away with that one sentence? At the time, I had no choice but to leave the Hua Tian realm. However, right at the border of the Hua Tian realm, I was so angry that I had the demon spirit who gave me send a message to Heavenly King Hua. I asked him to come to my Mo Sa Palace in a month's time and explain the reason to the other demon spirits. Otherwise, I'll lead an army to attack the Hua Tian realm. You're quite bold. Little White Dragon didn't know if he was mocking or praising him. Monster King Mosa glanced at Little White Dragon. I only wanted to force Heavenly King Hua. This matter seemed simple to him, but to me, it was extremely important. I couldn't not ask him to take it seriously. Who knew that Heavenly King Hua still wouldn't show up? Xiao Hua smiled. And you? Since you've already said so, you can only send troops to the Hua Tian realm. That's right. Monster King Mosa nodded. Even if my Tsang Yuan realm's army forced him here, Heavenly King Hua still wouldn't dare show himself. Human great sage, if he didn't have any ulterior motives, why wouldn't he dare show himself? Hearing this, Xiao Hua understood many things. Needless to say, there might be a mastermind behind this matter. Regardless of whether or not this mastermind really knew about the ambiguous relationship between Xian Wan and Ming Hua, one thing was certain. This mastermind had already seen through the flaw in Ming Hua's doppelganger. However, this mastermind might not have been able to confirm this flaw. That's why they connected the long-missing Xian Wan with Ming Hua and sent Monster King Masa to investigate. Ming Hua was naturally a doppelganger. His strength wasn't at the great sage level. Even from Monster King Masa's words, his strength wasn't as strong as Monster King Masa's. Therefore, he didn't dare to show himself. This made the originally skeptical Monster King Masa even more convinced. However, what was originally a rumor was originally true. Of course, it couldn't be ruled out that this mastermind really did know about the ambiguous relationship between Xian Wan and Ming Hua. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua smiled and said, "How about this, Monster King Masa? This old man won't let you invite the demon spirit who told you. Come with this old man to Foundation Hall. This old man was just about to go find Heavenly King Hua. Why don't I help you?" "Sure, sure." Demon King Masa nodded. But last time, the Swift Cherry Grand Sage and the Flame Phoenix Empress went to the Foundational Palace. Heavenly King Hua didn't appear. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage and the Flame Phoenix Empress couldn't. Xiao Hua sneered and said, "That's because the Swift Cherry Grand Sage was too soft-hearted. He couldn't bear to tear apart each other's faces. But this old man is different. This old man has an extremely important matter to discuss with Heavenly King Hua. Whether he meets or not, it's not up to him." "All right." Monster King Masa hesitated, then looked at Huang Tong, who didn't even bother looking at him. He nodded and said, "Then I'll accompany the great sages to Foundation Hall. Withdraw your army." Xiao Hua looked at the Toad army that was already fighting with the Mountain Rock Spirit and said, "If this continues, the casualties will be even greater." "Humph, although I can't defeat Heavenly King Hua, my Tsang Yuan field army is definitely stronger than Heavenly King Hua's." Monster King Masa said proudly, "Behind my personal army, there are also Mountain Rock Spirits and Origin Spirits." Xiao Hua couldn't be bothered to ask what Origin Spirits were. He raised his hand and said, "You lead the way." "Yes, great sage." Monster King Masa didn't say anything else. After giving the order to his army, he no longer cared about the situation on the ground. His body flashed with golden light and he charged into the void. "Damn, this toad is quite interesting." Watching Archfiend Monarch Masa flee into the void, Xiao Hua fell into deep thought. He thought to himself, "It's not as Dai said. The Heavenly Fortune Palace married Xian Wan to him. Although in the eyes of the human race, it's definitely a marriage of lower status and the two aren't a good match." But thinking about this toad's status as a monster king and his love for Xian Wan, he wouldn't let Xian Wan suffer in the Qin School Palace. The Heavenly Fortune Palace's eyes are unique. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua couldn't help but laugh. The Heavenly Fortune Palace's thoughts were naturally different from Xian Wan's. They each had their own reasons. What right did he have to judge? He only needed to see Ming Hua's clone, awaken Ming Hua's main body, ask about the spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent, rescue Xian Wan from the forbidden spell, and return the favor. As for what Xian Wan would choose, that was Xian Wan's business, and he had nothing to do with it. Monster King Masa had been to the Foundation Hall before, so he was naturally familiar with the place. Moreover, his void escape technique was no small matter. Before long, he flew out of the void with Xiao Hua and Huang Tong. In front of them was a huge desert. Monster trees as large as cactuses were scattered all over the place. And in the middle of these monster trees, there was a huge sand dune on the ground. These sand dunes were grotesquely shaped and arranged in a strange manner. They were either arranged in a square on the ground, or in a six-sided pile in the air, or in an oval-shaped semicircle hidden in the void. These sand dunes didn't seem to have any doors, but there were many monsters near the sand dune. Some of these monsters were patrolling in the air, while others were shuttling between the sand dune, as if the sand dune was a palace. The desert was naturally windy. Sand and dust often filled the sky. However, in this barren desert, streams of rich power of the stars and the moon fell from the sky like a waterfall, pouring onto the sand dunes. The entire sand dunes were overflowing with brilliance, and then fell deep into the ground. Similarly, from the ground, there was also rich earth-type yuan qi of heaven and earth flowing upwards, forming a thin barrier at the edge of the wasteland. While protecting the entire wasteland, it also fell onto the sand dunes. Xiao Hua flew out from the void. After scanning with his divine sense, he couldn't help but nod inwardly. Although he didn't understand what kind of demonic formation was set up in this desert, the demonic light on the ground flickered. With so many sand dunes' intricate arrangement, the entire desert was like a monster accumulating power. An indescribable power was being emitted from these sand dune formations. This must be the foundation hall, right? Xiao Hua asked in a low voice. Now, he could be considered experienced and knowledgeable. He knew that the so-called palaces of the monster race might not be the same as the palaces of the human race. The foundation hall of the Hua Tian realm was piled up by sand dune. In the eyes of the human race, it was like a sand toy. Even the Phoenix Palace of the colorful Phoenix King might be a chicken coop in the eyes of the human race. That's right. Little White Dragon looked at the foundation hall in his memory and felt a little emotional. He nodded and said, "This is the foundation hall. I remember coming here with Ming Hua." Oh. Demon King Masa was slightly taken aback. He glanced at Little White Dragon. He didn't know what this strange monster race had to do with Ming Hua. While everyone was talking, the sound of wind whistling suddenly rang out. Countless sand and stones rushed out from the ground and from the nearest sand dune. In a moment, a strange beast-like figure of 1,000 feet in size appeared in midair. Chapter 48-25. Looking at the beast that looked like a hexagon but was oval in the middle, with more than 10 tentacles extending from the 4 sides, Little White Dragon said in a low voice, "Big brother, this is a kind of demon from the Hua Tian realm, called Sha Hong." The Sha Hong spirit revealed himself and immediately said warily, "Demon King Mo Sa, what are you doing here? My great sage said he wouldn't see you. Please return." Whoosh! Monarch Masa didn't waste any time talking to the spirit. He stuck out his thick tongue, and the space within a few hundred meters around him was locked down. His tongue then pierced through the void and entered the gravel demon's body. Boom! With a huge sound, the 3,000-meter-long Sha Hong's body collapsed. Not only that, but even the tiny grains of sand turned to dust. Gua! Demon King Mo Sa roared, "Ming Hua, I've come to your foundation hall. Come out and see me." Demon King Mo Sa's roar attracted the attention of many demon soldiers. Woo! With a gust of wind, groups of strange demons flew out from the sand dunes and quickly formed a squad in front of Demon King Mo Sa. Swoosh! Several gray demonic lights flashed. A grasshopper demon clan with bronze-colored body, a Sha Hong demon clan with fist-sized gravel all over its body, a demon clan with a completely stone-like body, and a demon clan with short spikes all over its body flew out from the hill and landed in front of the battle team. The grasshopper demon said coldly, "Demon King Mo Sa, our 2 races are in the middle of a war. What are you doing here at my foundation hall? Don't think that just because my great sage tolerated you, he was weak. Last time, when the swift cherry great sage came, my great sage made it clear that your thoughts were nothing more than delusions. Since you want to fight, then let's fight. But if you keep challenging my great sage's bottom line, then don't blame my great sage for being ruthless and not giving him any face." Haha! Demon King Mo Sa laughed loudly, "This great sage has nothing to do with me. Have your great sage come out. My Tsang Yuan realm and the Hua Tian realm have been fighting for so many years, I'm tired of it. I just want to ask him one thing. You're just a demon king. What qualifications do you have to ask my great sage to come out? The grasshopper demon replied indifferently, if the great sage comes, then that's more like it. Gua. Demon King Mo Sa was enraged when he heard the grasshopper demon general mention the Nuo Xian supreme sage. He shouted, I will kill all of you first. Let's see if Ming Hua comes out or not. With that, demon monarch Masa's golden figure flickered and his thick claws slapped out. Several golden sword-like rays of light completely enveloped the demon ant general. The grasshopper fiend general hadn't expected fiend monarch Masa to dare make a move in Foundation Palace. He was shocked. He wasn't as strong as monarch Masa to begin with, so there was no way he could dodge. Just as the grasshopper fiend general was about to be smashed to death by fiend King Mo Sa, a finger suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Although the finger was pointing at the air, both fiend King Mo Sa and the grasshopper fiend general were imprisoned. The sword-like golden light was also annihilated. Xiao Hua opened his mouth and said, I am Xiao Hua, the great sage of the human race. Go, call your great sage Ming Hua over. Along with Xiao Hua's voice, the grasshopper demon general's spatial imprisonment disappeared. Demon King Masa's eyes clearly showed a kind of surprise. He knew that Xiao Hua's divine arts were powerful, but he didn't expect Xiao Hua's divine arts to have reached such an unfathomable level. The great sage of the human race. The grasshopper demon general had clearly never heard of Xiao Hua's name and cried out in surprise. Damn it! Demon King Masa said coldly, this is the human great sage who killed the great ape king and the rainbow lion king. Why don't you hurry up and call Heavenly King Hua out? If the great sage of the human race is angered, he will still take Heavenly King Hua's head. Ah! The grasshopper demon general turned pale with fright. Although he didn't know whether this news was true or false, he didn't think that Demon King Masa would use the lives of the great ape king and the rainbow lion king to joke with him. He hurriedly flew back and whispered a few words to the demon generals, then said in a panic, please wait a moment, great sage of the human race. This little one will call my great sage over. Facing a fiend who could kill two great sages, the grasshopper demon general didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly brought the group of demon generals back to the dune-shaped Foundation Palace. Xiao Hua looked at the Foundation Palace that covered the entire desert and frowned slightly. Because there weren't any overly powerful auras in this desert, Ming Hua's doppelganger didn't seem to exist at all. Sure enough, after half a meal, the grasshopper demon general flew over alone with a sad face and begged, Great Sage, this little one isn't lying to you. Just now, my great sage was still in the Foundation Palace, but now, there's no trace of him. Xiao Hua said amiably, this has nothing to do with you. Heavenly King Hua might have misunderstood. This old man is an old acquaintance of his, and I'm not here to find trouble with him. As he spoke, Xiao Hua raised his voice and said, Heavenly King Hua, I am Xiao Hua of the human race. I came here today because I have an extremely important matter to discuss with you. I know. You have some misgivings right now, and you're afraid that I will see through something. However, I came to see you precisely because I don't want this flaw of yours to be seen through by the other great sages. You must trust one, and don't let I use force. That way, it won't be fun. When Demon King Masa heard this, he was even more curious. Although he didn't understand what Xiao Hua was talking about, he already understood that Heavenly King Hua Ming Hua didn't want to see him because he had some other unspeakable troubles. And these unspeakable troubles were a taboo for Heavenly King Hua. He was afraid that he really had misunderstood Heavenly King Hua. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Ming Hua's figure didn't appear in the entire desert. This wasn't out of Xiao Hua's expectations. He smiled and said, all right, since that's the case, don't blame this old man for not showing mercy. Heavenly King Hua, you aren't the real Ming Hua right now. You're just a clone of Heavenly King Hua. This old man came here today to tell you where Ming Hua's main body is. If you know what's good for you, come out now. This old man will tell you the truth. What? Demon King Masa was stunned. He said in shock, human race great sage, you're saying. The current heavenly King Hua is his clone. No wonder he didn't dare to see me. However, then where did his main body go? He, naturally he's with your empress. Huang Tong sneered from the side. Damn it. Demon Monarch Masa let out a furious roar and immediately came to his senses. The possibility of this happening was simply too great. Damn it, this old man lied to you. Huang Tong scolded him. This old man doesn't even know who Ming Hua is, and I don't know who your empress is. You believe everything I say? Yes. Demon King Masa was quite tactful in front of the great sage of the Phoenix race. He didn't dare to say anything. This time, it was out of Xiao Hua's expectations. After a full meal, no demons flew out. Fellow Taoist Xiao. Huang Tong smiled. Looks like this heavenly King Hua still doesn't trust you enough. He doesn't want to see you. Right now, it's not a matter of whether he believes me or not, and it's not a matter of whether he wants to see me or not. Xiao Hua was a bit unhappy. After all, he had said everything he could say. He even used "I" to vaguely point out his relationship with Ming Hua's main body. But at this point, Ming Hua's clone still didn't come out to meet him. Xiao Hua couldn't possibly tell him everything, right? Since it was Ming Hua's clone and not Ming Hua's ancestor, there was no need to be especially polite. Xiao Hua said proudly, right now, it's a matter of me wanting to see him. While speaking, Xiao Hua looked up at the sky and said, fellow Taoists, can you come with me to see this heavenly King Hua? Haha, of course. Before Xiao Hua's voice faded, Feng Wu and Reverend Yun flew down from the sky. The Great Sage of the Phoenix and Great Sage of the Dragon Clan released their auras without concealing anything. A pressure comparable to a storm rolled over. Not only the demons of the Hua Tian realm fell into the sand, but even Demon King Masa's body shrank rapidly under the pressure. He didn't dare to resist at all. Oh my! Demon King Masa stuck out his tongue. He looked at Reverend Yun's dragon body and then at the little white dragon's body. He thought to himself, so this unknown demon is from the Dragon Clan. Looks like the Dragon Clan and this great sage of the Dragon Clan have some relationship. Fortunately, I didn't offend him just now. Demon King Masa quickly stabilized his body and wanted to go forward to greet him. However, Feng Wu and Reverend Yun rolled up their bodies and flew tens of thousands of miles away in an instant. Xiao Hua looked at Huang Tong and also flew tens of thousands of miles away in another direction. After that, the four of them stood still and released their consciousness at the same time. Like the great array of the 9 provinces, they covered the surrounding space. After a while, Xiao Hua smiled and said loudly, Heavenly King Hua, at this time. You still don't want to come out and meet me? Roar. Reverend Yun let out a dragon roar and spat out a dragon breath that reached tens of thousands of feet high in the air. At the space where the dragon breath was, a series of cracks appeared like glass. When the dragon breath rushed into these cracks, a green light ball flew out from the space crack. This green light ball landed in the air and immediately turned into an extremely beautiful human woman. Hiss. Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes flashed with puzzlement. He quickly asked in his mind, Phoenix Sage, what did Ming Hua look like? It's similar to what you think. In my eyes, this Ming Hua is a graceful phoenix, much more luxurious than the colorful Phoenix King. Feng Wu answered. However, just as Feng Wu's voice fell, the light ball flashed with 9 colors again. Light and shadow flashed, and the beautiful woman in Xiao Hua's eyes turned into a handsome man again. Xiao Hua sneered. His body swayed, but he didn't go near Ming Hua's clone. Instead, he landed beside the little white dragon and asked, "Little White, is this Ming Hua?" Chapter 48-26. Yes, this is Heavenly King Hua. Little White Dragon was clearly frightened by Ming Hua's appearance. He hurriedly answered, "I've seen him before, and this aura is Heavenly King Hua's." Little White Dragon dared not delay. Although he knew it was Ming Hua's clone, he still flew over and bowed, "Greetings, Heavenly King Hua." "You are." Ming Hua's clone obviously did not remember Ming Hua. He asked hesitantly. Little White Dragon was about to answer when Xiao Hua stopped him and said, "Little White, don't be hasty. He is just Ming Hua's clone. How could he know you? You can tell him after I tell him the whereabouts of Ming Hua's true body." Little White Dragon did not understand why Xiao Hua would do that, but he still smiled at Ming Hua's clone and flew to Xiao Hua's side. Before he could stop, Shui Yu's eyes flashed with surprise. She whispered, "Ming Hua, is this the famous Heavenly King Hua? Why does he look like a member of the Python clan? Since when did the Python clan have a great saint?" Little White Dragon was stunned. He looked at Ming Hua's clone curiously, then at Shui Yu, and answered, "How could Heavenly King Hua be a member of the Python clan? He is clearly. There is a saying in the human race that one's appearance is born from one's heart. This is one of Heavenly King Hua's divine abilities. He can hide his true appearance. If you look with your own eyes, you may see the appearance you want to see." Xiao Hua explained patiently. The light figure seemed to be embarrassed. As Huang Tong, Feng Wu, and Reverend Yun approached, he had to move closer to Foundation Palace where Xiao Hua was. Xiao Hua looked at the light figure and said with a smile, "Heavenly King Hua, although you are just a clone now, you are still a part of Heavenly King Hua. You have karma with me. You don't have to be afraid. I'm here to bring you good news." Xiao Hua, the great saint of the human race. Ming Hua's clone said with a clear voice, "I don't know what you are talking about. I am in my true body now. How can I have a clone?" "Is that so?" Xiao Hua said unhurriedly, "Since you are in your true body, why is your strength weaker than that of a sun expert?" "That's because I was previously injured. Although I've recovered after going into seclusion, my cultivation level has dropped a little." When Ming Hua's doppelganger saw that he was being surrounded by several great saints, he was no longer in a hurry. "Also, Archfiend Masa, what you heard is just a rumor. There were some demon spirits who wanted to provoke a war between the Huatian realm and the Cangyuan realm. These demon spirits are this sage's enemies. They want to use you to find out the truth about this sage. This is the reason why this sage tolerated you again and again and didn't go to your Mo Sa palace to attend the banquet. Do you think I will believe you?" Seeing that Heavenly King Hua did not even have the strength of a sun expert, how could Demon King Mo Sa be afraid of him? He replied coldly, "Unless you want me to turn the entire Huatian realm upside down. That's impossible." Ming Hua's doppelganger continued calmly, "Besides, I'll be frank with you. While I'm no match for a great sage of the human race, when it comes to you. Hee. Then let's give it a try." Demon King Masa's figure flickered as he flew closer. "Little toad, stand aside." Reverend Yun sneered. As expected, Demon King Mo Sa shrunk his neck and did not dare to move. Heavenly King Hua's strength may not be enough now, but it doesn't mean it won't be in the future. Xiao Hua smiled as he took out Ming Hua's main body and handed it to his doppelganger. "This is a token that I obtained by accident. It contains information about the location of Ming Hua's main body. I have no use for it, so I'll return it to you. You just need to go there and find Ming Hua's main body. Then, you will be able to recover." Little White Dragon did not understand why Xiao Hua said that. However, when he saw that Ming Hua's doppelganger did not seem to be particularly excited, and that Ming Hua's main body did not move even when he approached Ming Hua's doppelganger. He seemed to understand something. Sure enough, Ming Hua's doppelganger waved his hand and a beam of light fell. It was the black and white conch that had lost its 7 colors. He smiled and said, "Thank you, great sage of the human race." Ouch! Xiao Hua suddenly froze. He raised his hand and blocked the black and white conch. He said embarrassedly, "I'm sorry, Heavenly King Hua. I made a mistake. This is not that token. This is." As he spoke, Xiao Hua hurriedly took out a tricolor triangular object. It looked similar to the black and white conch. Only after Xiao Hua replaced the triangular object with the black and white conch did he retract his hand. Thank you, great sage of the human race." Although Ming Hua's doppelganger was a little surprised, he still took the triangular object and nodded. "When this great sage recovers. TCH. Without waiting for Ming Hua's doppelganger to finish speaking, Huang Tong laughed coldly. "Ming Hua's main body is in your hands. You don't even know. How can you be Ming Hua's doppelganger? You took that useless object. How can you recover your cultivation? You." The light and shadow shook as a strange fluctuation suddenly rushed out from the light and shadow. The 9 colors of the light and shadow seemed to be washed away by the rain as it rapidly faded away. Demon King Masa was greatly alarmed. He hastily tried to stop him, but Xiao Hua confidently opened his mouth. A breath of clear air fell, and like a brush, light and shadow once again appeared from the indescribable void. Moreover, this time was different from the previous time. After the light appeared, it immediately disappeared and a fox several hundred feet long appeared in front of everyone. Wasn't this the great demon that Xiao Hua entered from the edge of the legacy world after taking the 10,000 spirit sacred blood? Unfortunately, Xiao Hua had never seen this fox before. He didn't know what happened in the legacy world after he left. Although Little White Dragon was prepared, after seeing the fox, he couldn't help but cry out, "Ah! You! What kind of demon are you? You dare to impersonate Heavenly King Hua? Do you not want to live anymore? Whether this old man lives or dies is my business." Seeing that he was exposed, the fox wasn't nervous at all. He calmly glanced at Little White Dragon and then at Xiao Hua and said, "Human race great sage, this old man has just heard of your name. I've also heard of the names of Phoenix Sage and Dragon Sage beside you. You aren't great sages of the 10,000 demon realm, so you don't know the secrets and dangers here. Let this old man give you a piece of advice, especially great ascension stage humans, this matter isn't something you can participate in. Today's matter. You only need to kill all the demon spirits who know about it, and this old man. And the power behind this old man will pretend that nothing happened." Are you threatening this Xiao? Xiao Hua didn't put away the dark mantra's body. Instead, he rolled it between his fingers and looked at the fox with interest. The fox's figure shook slightly and turned into the appearance of an old man. He smiled and said, "It's not a threat. After all, this old man doesn't have the power to threaten a great sage. However, since great sages are great sages of the human race, you must know what realm comes after great sages." At this point, the fox abruptly stopped speaking and didn't say another word. Xiao Hua stared at the old man as if he wanted to see if the fox was telling the truth, but he suddenly said, "You're talking about Snow Wolf King, aren't you?" The fox was naturally a fox, so how could it blurt out the name like a human? However, when he heard the 3 words Snow Wolf King, the expression in his eyes slightly changed. It was only this slight change that caused Xiao Hua to smile. "Big brother." Before Xiao Hua could say anything, Shuiyu spoke up, "Can I see this strange conch?" "Of course." Facing the cunning fox, Xiao Hua's attention was focused on the fox's expression. When he heard Hu Yu's voice, he naturally agreed and handed the black and white conch to Hu Yu. You. The fox's heart trembled when Xiao Hua saw through its expression, and it asked tentatively, "Could it be that you're also?" However, Xiaohua didn't answer the fox. Instead, he reached out with his hand, and with a flash of golden light, a large hand blocked the other side. At this moment, Xueyu's python body strangely extended a claw. Although the claw was faster than lightning and wanted to grab the black and white conch, and Xueyu's python body showed signs of collapsing as the claw approached the conch, Xueyu's claw was immediately blocked by Xiaohua's large golden hand, and even Xueyu's mutated python body froze there. Xiaohua looked at Xueyu and asked with a smile, "You want it? Heavenly King Hua, if you want it, just say it. If you don't say it, how would I know you want it? Although you're looking at me with sincerity, you still have to tell me what you want. Do you really want it? Then you can have it. You don't really want it, do you? Do you really want it? Actually, it's yours. You told me seriously, so how could I not give it to you? However, you asked me in a roundabout way, and you made me confused. How could I give it to you? What? She's Heavenly King Hua. Little White Dragon's dragon scales stood up like hair. He didn't dare to believe Xiaohua's words, and he didn't dare to believe his own eyes. In fact, he didn't dare to believe that he and Heavenly King Hua had been doing whatever they wanted in the deep pool. Impossible, impossible. Little White Dragon hurriedly shook his muddy brain and asserted, "If she's Heavenly King Hua, how could she have almost been killed by the eagle tribe? How could she? Nothing is impossible." Xiaohua looked at Little White Dragon's panic, and a trace of strangeness appeared in his heart. He looked at Xueyu and said, "The secret of Heavenly King Hua's true body. We don't know. It's also possible that he's a hermaphrodite. Furthermore, the Xueyu in front of you is Heavenly King Hua's clone. Whether she's a male or a female, it doesn't matter." Chapter 48:27. Damn it. Little White Dragon used its dragon claws to grab its own dragon head and curled up in regret, as if it had done something extremely bad. You didn't say anything, only looking at Xiaohua indifferently. Only now did she speak. "Xiaohua, how did you know? I didn't seem to have revealed any flaws, did I? Heavenly King Hua, you seem to be too confident." Xiaohua rubbed his nose and smiled, just based on the fact that Little White Dragon fainted. Here, Xiaohua stopped and looked at Demon King Mo Sa. "Demon King Mo Sa, do you see? Heavenly King Hua's main body left the 10,000 demon realm many years ago, his clone. I'll tell you, it just woke up. Do you think the matter between the Empress and Heavenly King Hua is real or fake? This. Demon King Mo Sa was in a dilemma. Not to mention whether the matter between Heavenly King Hua and Xianwan was real, just the fact that Heavenly King Hua had become a female python meant he couldn't pursue this matter. You coldly looked at Demon King Mo Sa and said, "Demon King Mo Sa, right now I'm not Heavenly King Hua, I don't know what Heavenly King Hua did. These things can only be known after I obtain Heavenly King Hua's main body. However, you offended my Hua Tian realm and slandered this king. You can wait at the place where the armies of Tsang Yuan realm and Hua Tian realm are fighting. Once I obtain the main body, I'll immediately kill you." Good. Demon King Mo Sa's eyes also showed ruthlessness. "I'm not afraid of a cowardly great saint like you." With that, Demon King Mo Sa flew away on his demon cloud. Old fox. Xiaohua exposed Yu's true face and looked up at the fox. "What did you just say?" How could the old fox admit it? He shook his head. "I didn't say anything. Looks like you won't give up until you hit the wall." Xiaohua said coldly, "This old man can tell you, Snow Wolf King has been killed by this old man. See? How is that possible?" The fox sucked in a breath of cold air and cried out in alarm. However, before his voice could land, his expression changed drastically again. A 9-colored brilliance immediately surged out from his body, and the phantom of a nine-tailed fox appeared once again within the brilliance. Heh heh. Xiao Hua waved his hand, and the power of thunder sealed the space around them. Even if the nine-tailed fox charged a secret technique of Qingqiu Mountain, it could not move half an inch. You. Nine-tailed fox was even more surprised to see that a human great sage could see through her secret art. I don't have time to waste on you right now. Xiao Hua grabbed the nine-tailed fox with his big hand and said, think about it carefully. When this old man asks you, then tell this old man the truth. While speaking, Xiao Hua pretended to take out a universe bracelet. With a sweep of his mind, the nine-tailed fox was taken into his space. All right. Xiao Hua looked around and smiled. Heavenly King Hua, now that there's no one around, we can have a good talk. Big brother, don't rush. Little White Dragon said with a sad face. Can you let me ask first? Of course. Xiao Hua knew Little White Dragon's complicated feelings and replied with a smile. Who you? Little White Dragon asked, you. When did you become Heavenly King Hua's clone? Hu Yu glanced at Little White Dragon as if she was annoyed. She did not want to answer, but seeing Xiao Hua's gaze, she still said half-heartedly, it was after you met Heavenly King Hua. He wanted to take you on a trip and happened to meet me. It was also a spur-of-the-moment decision. Then when I met Heavenly King Hua's python body, it was also you. Little White Dragon seemed to understand something and asked. Of course. Hu Yu frowned. That's all in the past. Why ask so much? Also, I can tell you that this clone of mine is different from ordinary cloning techniques. Heavenly King Hua only split half of his primordial spirit and sealed it in this python body. If Heavenly King Hua's true body was not here, this primordial spirit would naturally take over Hu Yu's python body, and Hu Yu would become the real Heavenly King Hua. If Heavenly King Hua's true body was here, Hu Yu's python body would naturally not be needed. Right now, Hu Yu's consciousness is temporarily suppressed by my consciousness. When my primordial spirit returns to Heavenly King Hua's true body, I will naturally return your Hu Yu to you. Of course, if too much time passes, whether your Hu Yu can return or not is not up to me to decide. How could Little White Dragon not hear the threat from Heavenly King Hua's clone? Since he knew that it was not Heavenly King Hua but the real Hu Yu, he was at ease. He glanced at Heavenly King Hua and was about to reply coldly. However, the moment he opened his mouth, his heart skipped a beat. He smiled and said, don't worry. Hu Yu is my beloved concubine, and you are Heavenly King Hua. I am also indebted to you. How can I not plead for you? As he spoke, Xiao Hua winked at Xiao Hua and said, don't you think so, big brother? Of course. Xiao Hua nodded. Heavenly King Hua is indebted to Little White Dragon. Heavenly King Hua's legacy on Dawn Rain Continent is also indebted to me. How can I not revive Heavenly King Hua? Then why did you stop me? Heavenly King Hua asked coldly. His tone was completely different from Hu Yu's. It's very simple. Xiao Hua shrugged and said, Heavenly King Hua was originally kind to Little White Dragon, but he set up a restriction in Little White Dragon's mind, wanting to kill Little White Dragon. If it wasn't for Little White Dragon's good luck, it would have already become a corpse by now. I also fell into the spatial trap set up by Heavenly King Hua. If I was not lucky, I would not have the chance to stand in front of you. Thus, Heavenly King Hua's kindness to me no longer exists. Since the kindness no longer exists, why should I give you his main body? Xiao Hua said with a smile. Heavenly King Hua's clone was not to be trifled with. He looked at his main body and said calmly, Xiao Hua, what conditions do you have? As long as I can agree, I will agree. I don't need any conditions. Xiao Hua replied. I just want to know some things. I also want you to make some promises. Heavenly King Hua's clone shook his head and said, I am only half of Ming Hua's primordial spirit. There are many things about him that I do not know. I cannot promise you now. There is no need to talk about the past now. Xiao Hua already knew that Heavenly King Hua would say this. He continued, you just need to promise me the future. This is not a problem, right? When you get the main body, Heavenly King Hua will know, right? All right. Heavenly King Hua did not even think and replied, tell me. I want you to make a demon oath. You, your main body, and even your other clones have to promise me a few things. Xiao Hua said word by word, first, you have to protect the little white dragon in the Gale Abyss to the best of your ability. All right. Heavenly King Hua's clone nodded. Since Heavenly King Hua used Xueyu as his clone, he will naturally agree to protect the Gale Abyss. Second, you have to protect the demons, humans, and dragons that came from the 3 continents to the 10,000 demon realm. You cannot reveal their whereabouts. This. Heavenly King Hua's clone shook his head. I am just a great sage from the spirit tribe. I cannot fight against the other great sages. If they want to kill me, I cannot stop them. Heavenly King Hua's clone shook his head. Actually, there are also descendants of the Rainbow Sea God Shell among them. They are also descendants of your Shell clan. Of course, you don't understand now. You will understand when you get your main body. Xiao Hua explained. Even if you cannot stop them, you have to protect them with all your might. All right. Heavenly King Hua's clone nodded helplessly. Third. Xiao Hua smiled and said, you have to promise that everything you tell me after you get your main body and regain your memories and strength is the truth. You are not asking for 3 things. Heavenly King Hua's clone said angrily. It doesn't matter. Xiao Hua shrugged and smiled slyly. I just want to ask you some questions. I am not going to eat your flesh or drink your blood. Besides, I brought your main body to the 10,000 demon realm. I am your main body's benefactor. Once you recover, you will understand why. All right. Heavenly King Hua's clone nodded. I promise. After that, Heavenly King Hua's clone made a demon oath. Countless strange threads fell like a spider web and entered Xueyu's body. Are you relieved now? Heavenly King Hua said angrily. This seems to be the first time Heavenly King Hua has been forced to make a demon oath. If you want to gain something, you will naturally lose something. Xiao Hua replied calmly and handed the black and white conch to Xueyu. This time, Xueyu did not rush to take it. Instead, she looked at the black and white conch and frowned. If my memory is correct, Heavenly King Hua's main body shouldn't be like this. But why do I know that this is Heavenly King Hua's main body? You will have to ask the Rainbow Sea God Shell about this. Xiao Hua did not answer Heavenly King Hua's clone directly. Fine. Heavenly King Hua's clone could not resist the temptation of his main body. He raised his hand and took it. Just like before, when Heavenly King Hua's tentacles came into contact with the black and white conch, Xueyu's python body collapsed again. At the same time, there was a loud boom in the sky. Waves of watery light seeped out of the void and rushed into the conch and Xueyu's python body. When the watery light entered the conch, the sound of crashing waves rose into the sky. A black and white light screen that was more than 10,000 feet wide appeared amidst the sound, covering the entire area. A familiar aura of a barrier that Xiao Hua was familiar with seeped out from within. However, this aura quickly retracted. The black and white light screen also shrunk and finally condensed together. As the curtain of light shrunk, the conch shell began to spin mysteriously. More and more water turned into water lines that fell onto the surface of the conch shell. The conch shell's shadow began to expand and gradually covered the conch shell's main body. Give it a recommendation vote, bookmark it, or tip it. Thank you for all your support. Chapter 48-28. Roar. At this point, Hu Yu's body had already sunk to a certain extent. She stopped and let out a painful hiss. Starting from her tail, a streak of blood slowly flowed out and rushed towards her head. After the time it took to finish a meal, the blood finally gathered at Hu Yu's head. Her originally snow-white head was now blood-red. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes as he watched. He knew that Heavenly King Hua's clone was using the external incarnation technique to draw out Hu Yu's essence blood. The clone's primordial spirit could also use this essence blood to successfully return to the original body that had undergone the divine punishment. Whoosh! As expected, a conch-shaped blood shadow gathered at the center of Hu Yu's brows. Then, like lightning, it rushed into the light shadow that had already condensed to a size of 1,000 feet. Although it was only for an instant, the blood shadow still trembled in midair. It even looked towards where Huang Tong was standing. Huang Tong's aura made the blood shadow's primordial spirit, which had left its physical body, very afraid. Wu! Heavenly King Hua's primordial spirit left Hu Yu's body. Hu Yu's body fell from midair again. Little White Dragon, who had been waiting by the side, immediately rushed out and caught Hu Yu's body. Bang bang bang. The blood-colored Yuan spirit landed in the conch illusory figure. Instantly, a couple of water-blue thunderbolts intertwined and fell from the sky. Ha ha. An obscure low roar came from the shadow, and then a powerful aura began to rush out from the shadow, spreading in all directions towards the Hua Tian realm. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the illusory figure solidified. However, the dark mantra didn't transform. Instead, Conch's body appeared first. However, after the black and white light dissipated, a handsome young man from the human clan stood in midair. Great Sage Ming Hua. Little White Dragon seemed to have just woken up. He hurriedly hugged the unconscious Hu Yu and bowed to the young man. You. Are you really awake? Sigh, Hu Han, you've finally cultivated into a dragon. Ming Hua sighed. He looked at Little White Dragon's body and sighed. The heavens reward those who persevere. Your hard work has indeed moved the heavens. Junior would also like to thank the great sage for his guidance. The Little White Dragon was somewhat similar to Xiao Hua's gratitude, and hurriedly replied respectfully. Ming Hua glanced at Little White Dragon and said to Xiao Hua, there are a few secret restrictions in Lin Han's soul that have not been removed yet. I need to help him remove them. Sure. Xiao Hua nodded. Then, Ming Hua raised his hand and a few rays of black and white light appeared. The light formed a butterfly-like knot in the air and slowly landed on the Little White Dragon's head. Roar. The Little White Dragon roared in pain and its body fell to the ground. Xiao Hua had already released his divine sense and knew that Ming Hua had done the right thing, so he nodded at Feng Wu. Feng Wu waved her phoenix claws and caught Little White Dragon and Shuiyu. Heavenly King Hua. Xiao Hua looked at Ming Hua and said, although I said earlier that we're even now, this Xiao Hua didn't say anything. However, what you've done is actually all part of your defense, and it's not targeted at this Xiao. Moreover, the orthodoxy you left behind in the Dawn Rain continent is indeed where this Xiao Hua once lived. This Xiao Hua still has to thank Heavenly King Hua. This Xiao Hua now greets the ancestor as a disciple of Shang Hua Ming. As he spoke, Xiao Hua respectfully bowed towards Ming Hua. Ming Hua knew that this was Xiao Hua settling the karma with him, so he didn't stop him and accepted it. Then, he raised his hand and said, Great Sage Xiao, Shang Hua Ming was just something I did casually in the Dawn Rain continent. To put it bluntly, it was also where I imprisoned Little White Dragon. You don't have to care too much about it. From now on, Shang Hua Ming has nothing to do with me. You don't have to mention Shang Hua Ming anymore. Well said. Xiao Hua smiled and said, it's best that Heavenly King Hua thinks this way. This Xiao Hua also doesn't want the famous Shang Hua Ming to have a demon spirit ancestor. Although Xiao Hua was smiling, how could Ming Hua not understand the meaning behind Xiao Hua's words? He lightly nodded and didn't mention this matter again. Instead, he asked, "Of course, your thoughts are also my thoughts. There's no need to say it out loud. Also, you've said it clearly before. You saved me from a hopeless situation, so we've written off our previous kindness. You and I don't owe each other anything. Shang Hua Ming. Even if you were the ancestor, with your current cultivation, it's more than enough. Didn't the human race say that history is always the victory song of the victors? Do as you see fit." Speaking of Shang Hua Ming, Xiao Hua naturally thought of some of the previous secrets. He thought for a moment and asked, "What about Shang Hua Ming seniors other than Heavenly King Hua? There doesn't seem to be any records in the ancestral hall." Heavenly King Hua frowned slightly and then said, "They naturally entered the cycle of reincarnation. You forced my avatar to swear a demon oath. You want to ask this?" Seeing Heavenly King Hua like this, Xiao Hua somewhat understood. Heavenly King Hua probably didn't want his whereabouts to be left behind in Yellow Flower Ridge, so he deliberately did some tricks. "Of course not, these are just some of the doubts in my heart. Today, I want to ask about the spatial passage from the 10,000 demon realm to the Dawn Rain continent." Xiao Hua said seriously, "I hope Heavenly King Hua can answer truthfully." "Oh. You want to know this?" Heavenly King Hua frowned and asked curiously, "You caused such a big commotion, just to know about the spatial passage from the 10,000 demon realm to the Dawn Rain continent?" "Yes." Xiao Hua answered, "This is very important to me, to the Rainbow Sea God Shell. Bei Xian, is she also in the Dawn Rain continent? Why can't I find her?" Heavenly King Hua was even more confused and asked back. "Bei Xian, is not in the Dawn Rain continent." Xiao Hua shook his head, "She's in the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm." In order to make Bei Ming tell him everything, and even want Bei Ming to love Bei Xian, because of her, Xiao Hua patiently told him everything about the four great continents. In the end, he said, "I just want to head to the Dawn Rain continent and destroy this immortal formation so that I can save the billions of lives in the three continents, including Bei Xian, Heavenly King Hua didn't seem to care about Bei Xian, life and death. He thought for a moment and shook his head, "Great Sage Shao, I'm sure you know that the memory I sealed in Zhang Han's soul is actually fake. That spatial passage is just a trap. The spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent doesn't exist at all." Seeing Heavenly King Hua's coldness, Xiao Hua's heart suddenly went cold. He seemed to have realized that he might be wrong. Bei Ming went to the Dawn Rain continent to find Bei Xian, or it might not be because he wanted to find a descendant of the Shell race, it might not be because of kinship, or even this Bei Ming might be even more cold-blooded than Bei Xian. It was possible that he went to kill Bei Xian. After all, in order to hide his true body, he took so many precautions in the Thousand Demon realm. Now that he heard that the three continents were going to be destroyed and Bei Xian, couldn't have survived, wasn't this exactly what he wanted? However, this was only Xiao Hua's guess. Xiao Hua didn't dare to take it seriously. He stopped guessing and asked in shock, "How is that possible? Didn't you go to the Dawn Rain continent through the spatial passage back then?" "It was purely a coincidence that I went to the Dawn Rain continent." Heavenly King Hua had already made a demon oath. When he heard Xiao Hua asking something that he didn't think was important, he answered without worry, "That day when I was cultivating the dragon transformation art encountered some problems, so I took Lin Han out to train. Because I wanted to refine my body, I chose the Origin Paradise. There were many chaotic spatial laws there were also extraterritorial hurricanes and even meteorites left behind by the outer realm. It was a good place to cultivate the dragon transformation art. However, when I was cultivating, I encountered a realm storm. Several spatial rifts suddenly appeared around me. These spatial rifts were very powerful and I couldn't escape with my ability. Therefore, I chose a spatial rift with weaker spatial laws to enter." Speaking of this, Heavenly King Hua shrugged his shoulders and said with a helpless expression, "When I passed through the realm barrier, I fainted. When I woke up, I was already at Yellow Flower Ridge. You also crossed realms and should know the impact of the laws of heaven and earth on the physical body. I rested for more than 10 years before I recovered. Then, I discovered that my cultivation was suppressed in the Dawn Rain continent. Moreover, the strange laws prevented me from using my divine arts. In order to explore the laws of heaven and earth of the Dawn Rain continent, I created Shang Huaming. However, after taking in a few disciples, I discovered that the physical body of the human race was completely different from that of the demon race. I was afraid that it would be difficult to compare and refer to, so I had to think of another way later. I heard that there was an immortal island overseas and there might be some celestial race there. They should be similar to my demon race, so I went to the Kwai He Sea. In the end, I was unlucky and encountered a powerful tsunami. I couldn't escape the suction of the seabed. After Heavenly King Hua finished speaking, Xiao Hua was filled with emotions. He had indeed thought of this Shang Huaming ancestor who he had never seen before as too perfect. Everything was just a coincidence. It wasn't driven by familial love or deep blood ties. Forget it, Xiao Hua sighed and asked again, then do you know of other passageways to the Dawn Rain continent? Heavenly King Hua thought for a moment and shook his head. Sorry, Xiao Hua, I really don't know. My origin I'm sure you already know. I'm not familiar with the other great sages in the 10,000 demon realm, so I can't help you much. Of course, since I went to the Dawn Rain continent from the Origin Grotto Heaven, you can give it a try. The problem is that space crack is too occasional, and it may lead to other realms. I'm already in the 10,000 demon realm, so I don't want to cause any more trouble. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. Xiao Hua, do you have any other questions? Heavenly King Hua asked. Xiao Hua shook his head, not at the moment. If there are any in the future, please answer truthfully like Heavenly King Hua. That's not a problem. Heavenly King Hua was also straightforward. After agreeing, he asked, then I also have a few questions to ask you. Chapter 48-29. Xiao Hua looked at Heavenly King Huatian and smiled. Actually, I know what you want to ask. First, I brought the sea god statue from Shang Huaming to the 1,000 demon sacred realm. However, when I fought with Bei Xian, it turned to dust. Heavenly King Huatian's expression turned strange when he heard that. He seemed to be glad, but Xiao Hua could not tell what it was. As for your sea god's bloodline, Xiao Hua didn't elaborate further and only mentioned it briefly. It's best if you ask Bei Xian. Of course, if I can't return to the Dawn Rain continent and break that immortal formation, I'll be able to help you. I'm afraid you won't be able to see her again. No. Heavenly King Huatian smiled and said, you're thinking too much. I just want to ask you, how did you get through that? That was a time array. Even a great saint of the demon race could not get through it. You're just a human great saint. How did you do it? However, Heavenly King Huatian glanced at Huang Tong and the other great saints of the demon race. Alright, since you've guessed it, I don't have to hide it. Xiao Hua smiled. Actually, the one who really saved you was Phoenix Saint of the Phoenix race. He used the space laws to resist the time laws. After paying the price of a lot of lifespan, we were lucky to escape. Xiao Hua already knew that Bei Ming would ask about this. He had already thought of a plan. With just a few words, he used the space laws to resist the time laws. It was mysterious and did not need to be explained in detail. Besides, Huang Tong was Xiao Hua's clone. He was no different from Xiao Hua. He did not lie to Heavenly King Huatian. Heavenly King Huatian frowned and thought. It looked like he believed it. Indeed, after a while, Heavenly King Huatian cupped his hands at Huang Tong. Phoenix Saint's understanding of the space laws is admirable. That day, I also used the space powers. However, I could only seal myself. I could not break through the time barrier. I was lucky, lucky. Huang Tong smiled insincerely. He was not interested in Heavenly King Huatian. Also, Heavenly King Huatian hesitated and asked, "Can you leave that old fox to me? He dared to impersonate me. I have to skin him and make a robe." "Sorry." Xiao Hua shook his head. "This guy is more important to me." "How is he more important to you?" Heavenly King Hua was confused. "If I'm not mistaken, this old fox should be a demon spirit from a lost clan in the 10,000 demon realm. He's not an ordinary fox." "How do you know him?" Xiao Hua smiled and said, "Forgive me for not being able to tell Heavenly King Hua about this. Of course, if I don't need it in the future, I'll skin him and give him to Heavenly King Hua." "An." Heavenly King Hua nodded in understanding. "As long as this bastard doesn't have a good ending. Since he dared to transform into this king's appearance, how can I not teach him a lesson?" At this point, Xiao Hua had nothing else to ask. Other than disappointment, there was only bitterness in his heart. From the 3 continents to the 10,000 demon realm, and from there to the Dawn Rain continent, it sounded very simple. However, it was difficult to actually do it. Previously, going from the 3 continents to the 10,000 demon realm should have been the most difficult. However, because of Huang Tong's appearance and the existence of that immature world, Xiao Hua finally arrived at the 10,000 demon realm. What he saw and did in the 10,000 demon realm had long exceeded Xiao Hua's expectations. However, at this point in time, what seemed to be the easiest thing had become the most difficult thing. There was a spatial passage, but this spatial passage was accidental. When it would appear, and which world it would lead to, no one could guarantee. Before he could confirm that it was the Dawn Rain continent, Xiao Hua would definitely not enter easily. Xiao Hua no longer had the time to go to other worlds. "Xiao Hua, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." Heavenly King Hua looked into the distance and said coldly, "Demon King Mo Sa actually sent troops to attack my Huatian realm. If I don't teach him a lesson, he won't know that Lord Ma has 3 eyes." Haha. It had been a long time since he heard a proverb from the human race. Hearing it from Heavenly King Hua now, it was rather familiar. However, after laughing a few times, his heart suddenly moved. "Heavenly King Hua, I'm a little curious. Who exactly is this Demon King Mo Sa's beloved concubine? Could it be that she's also a female toad? If that's the case, you really have to teach Demon King Mo Sa a lesson. He pushed a toad to you for no reason." "How would I know?" Heavenly King Hua glanced at Xiao Hua indifferently. He did not answer directly, but instead sneered, "If it wasn't a demon spirit who saw through the old fox's trick, then it must be some great saint who wants to cause trouble for my Huatian realm. I'll slowly investigate this matter." Then, Heavenly King Hua cupped his fist and said, "Farewell. I hope you can find the spatial passage to Dawn Rain continent smoothly." "Thank you, Heavenly King Hua." Xiao Hua cupped his fist and returned the gesture. Woo woo. Heavenly King Hua's figure moved, transforming into a gray streak of light that shot towards the place where Xiao Hua had come from. Not long after, rumbling sounds could be heard from afar as pillars of starlight and moonlight appeared in the distance. Heavenly King Hua had already made his move. "This guy is a little like Jiang Haochen." Huang Tong squinted at the chaotic heaven and earth energy in the distance and said softly, "Ruthless and merciless in his actions. He doesn't hesitate when dealing with emotions." Reverend Yun said, "I have a feeling that Heavenly King Hua still has some secrets that he hasn't told us. These secrets might be useful to us. The problem is, we don't know what these secrets are, so we can't make him tell us." Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. "I can at least say, Heavenly King Hua, can you tell us all your secrets?" "Haha, of course." Feng Wu smiled. "Get the information we want within Heavenly King Hua's tolerance range. Don't touch his bottom line. After all, he has already made a demon oath to take care of the descendants from the 3 continents. And Gale Abyss. Xiao Hua looked down at the unconscious little white dragon and said, Bei Ming's divine power is even more unfathomable than Bei Xian's. Little white dragon's original body has already been killed, and he's only surviving on his soul essence. Bei Ming's seal is still effective in his soul essence. Even if he condenses his body with the dragon cleansing liquid, the seal is still his shackles. Just this point alone. The Red Sea Domain's royal family is definitely not simple. Little White Dragon's luck has finally come to an end. Huang Tong smiled. In the future, he'll become a famous existence in the 10,000 demon realm. Fellow Taoist, things have come to a dead end again. Reverend Yun asked, are we going to the Origin Cave next? The Origin Cave is recorded in the World Sense. Xiao Hua took out the World Sense and looked at it, then handed it to Huang Tong and said, it's easy for us to go to the Origin Cave. But the difficult part is how to find the Dawn Rain mainland. Fellow Taoist, don't you have a sense of direction? Isn't that easy? Feng Wu smiled. Reverend Yun also said, yes, others don't know the aura of the Dawn Rain mainland, but you don't. The problem is. Xiao Hua explained, if there's a spatial crack that leads to the Dawn Rain mainland in the same spatial crack that appears at the same time, we can naturally enter it. But what if there's no spatial crack? We won't have any chance to regret, and can only choose an unknown realm to enter. We can't afford to gamble. Fellow Taoist, you seem to have a card up your sleeve. Huang Tong returned the world sense to Xiao Hua and asked with a smile. Xiao Hua nodded, that's right. We can't find any useful information on Heavenly King Hua, but there's another person. We can go and ask. Who? Feng Wu asked curiously. Reverend Yun smiled, who else? Of course, it's the Radiant Phoenix King. Phoenix Sage, now it's up to you to seduce this Radiant Phoenix King with your handsome face. Gosh. Feng Wu said with a distressed face, fellow Taoist, you've overestimated me. This matter belongs to none other than Phoenix Sage. Don't look for me. Huang Tong said impatiently, I've been to the vast ocean, and there's no other cloud except for Mount Wu. Xiao Hua's face was full of black lines, and he said, fellow Taoists, aren't you overthinking? I visited Divine Mother Peacock earlier. Oh, that's right, that's her. Hearing this, Huang Tong hurriedly shouted, isn't the Kai family of the Dawn Rain mainland the descendants of Divine Mother Peacock? According to fellow Taoist, Fairy Hong Xia even obtained a peacock plume. Divine Mother Peacock must have been to the Dawn Rain mainland, and she must know where the spatial passage is. Not only that. Xiao Hua said thoughtfully, that day when we attacked the Great Ape King, Divine Mother Peacock once said that she saw that there was some karma between us. If there's time, she would invite us to the Peacock Palace for a chat. Could it be that her words are here? Divine Mother Peacock actually has a Buddhist cultivation base. This matter is really a great secret of the 10,000 demon realm. Feng Wu said cautiously, whether or not we can get the information of the spatial passage from her mouth, we should go to the Peacock Palace and prepare for the birth of Maitreya Buddha. However, before going to the Peacock Palace, we need to ask who the immortal body living in the Snow Wolf King's primordial spirit is. Xiao Hua said while pinching his chin, that cunning old fox must know something. Not only that. Huang Tong said, this old fox actually knows the illusion technique of Qingqiu Mountain. If fellow Taoist was not proficient in this technique, how could you capture him so easily? This old fox might have some relationship with Jiu Xia. That's right, that's right. Xiao Hua nodded, it's because I'm not sure what relationship he has with Jiu Xia that I don't know how to deal with him. Let's ask about the immortal body first. Taoist Yun suggested, let's wait until we reach the Dawn Rain mainland to save us the trouble of guessing. Then, Xiao Hua brought Little White Dragon and Shuiyu back to the Gale Abyss, and waited for them to wake up before saying goodbye. Give it as a reward, and thank you for all your support. Chapter 48:30. Although it was a farewell, it was just Xiao Hua tearing open the void above Gale Abyss and using the space escape technique to reach the sky. Then, Feng Wu, Huang Tong, and Reverend Yun each guarded a corner. Xiao Hua pulled the fox out of the space. When he released the seal, the fox's eyes turned quickly, looking left and right, then became obedient again. You're a demon spirit of the Fox clan, right? Xiao Hua looked at the fox's flashing eyes and asked in a deep voice. Yes, this lowly one is Hu Mao of the Fox clan. The old fox hurriedly answered with a very respectful expression. When he heard the old fox call himself Hu Mao, Xiao Hua sneered in his heart, but he did not expose him. He asked, I'll be honest with you. Not only did I kill the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King, I also killed the Snow Wolf King. Impossible. Hu Mao cried out in surprise, how could you kill the Snow Wolf King? Why didn't I hear any news? Because the place where I killed her was not in the spirit realm, so there was no news until now. Xiao Hua said faintly, however, I feel that in your surprise. You still don't believe it. Because you think that with the protection of the human form, the Snow Wolf King would never be killed by other demons in the 10,000 demon realm. The words, immortal physique and human form, struck the cunning old fox. Hu Shao was stunned and his face was filled with fear. He couldn't say a single word. I'll tell you the same thing, that human form was also killed by me. Xiao Hua's words did not stop until he was shocked to death. He continued, I spared your life because I want to ask you, who is that human form? What is his purpose in coming to the 10,000 demon realm? If Hu Qi had some doubts about Xiao Hua before, then he was truly shocked at this moment. If Xiao Hua had seen the humanoid immortal physique, then only one of them could survive. This was the most clear to him. Now that Xiao Hua was alive and standing in front of him, then the human form must have been killed by Xiao Hua. Just as Hu Qi was about to speak, he hesitated again. This was because he couldn't rule out the possibility that Xiao Hua had already joined the human immortal body. He also couldn't rule out the possibility that the human immortal body was testing him. However, in the blink of an eye, Hu Qi couldn't help but laugh. Not to mention whether or not he was worthy of the human immortal body's test, if Xiao Hua had relied on the human immortal body, how could he have been exposed? How could Hua Tian King still be alive? Hu Bo was naturally someone who could judge the situation. He smiled apologetically and said, I'll be honest with you, great sage. I'm just a small fry and can't compare to the great sage Snow Wolf King. If it weren't for the fact that I'm not famous and know some transformation techniques, that great sage wouldn't have taken a liking to me. Therefore, the one who gave orders to me was the Snow Wolf King. I've only met that lord once. Therefore, I have no idea who that person is and why he came to the 10,000 demon realm. The order I received was to transform into Heavenly King Hua's appearance in Hua Tian Realm's Foundation Hall. Why did you transform into Heavenly King Hua's appearance? Xiao Hua asked. As for the specifics, I don't know yet. Hu Bo hurriedly replied, Snow Wolf King didn't have time to give me an order before Demon King Mo Sa came to cause trouble. I could only deal with it in a hurry. You really don't know who that human immortal body is? Xiao Hua stretched out a finger and said indifferently, I'm from the Dao sect. I believe you also know that the soul-searching technique is the most common technique in the Dao sect. However, the Dao sect's soul-searching technique has a flaw. If you're not careful, you can turn someone into an idiot. I don't know if this will happen to the demon race if I'm not careful. Great sage, please spare me. Hu Bo became anxious and shouted, my primordial spirit has that great sage's seal. If you search my soul, not only will I be harmed, great sage will also be in danger. You don't have to threaten me. Xiao Hua laughed, I can kill him, so I naturally have a way to break his seal. Hu Bo's face turned pale. Seeing Xiao Hua's finger covering all light and shadow, he couldn't even feel the heaven and earth. He hurriedly shouted, "Great sage, don't worry." "What? What did you think of?" Xiao Hua asked unhurriedly, but his finger stopped. "Great sage." Hu Bo's face was filled with extreme hesitation. "It's not that I don't want to say, I really don't know much. I remember that I was worried that great sage Peng Xian would see through my plan and wanted to withdraw from this matter. Snow Wolf King led me to a mysterious place and I met that great sage. I won't hide it from great sage. When facing this great sage, I didn't even dare to raise my head. How could I know his intentions? Of course, when we came out of the mysterious space, Snow Wolf King hinted that this great sage had a great background. He was an envoy from a certain immortal race in the immortal world." "Which immortal race?" Xiao Hua asked with interest. He didn't think that Hu Bo would be able to give him a satisfactory answer. The result shocked Xiao Hua. Hu Bo carefully said, "Snow Wolf King said that this great sage's surname seems to be Shen." When the word Shen came out, Hu Bo's eyes spun rapidly, as if waiting for the restriction to activate. Fortunately, the space was calm and Hu Bo's body was calm. There was no change. "Shen clan?" Xiao Hua was confused. "Do you think Snow Wolf King would tell you the truth? How could he tell you such important information?" "That's not something that I can know." Hu Qi smiled apologetically. "However, I'm afraid that the Snow Wolf King was also forced to do so, right? Or perhaps Snow Wolf King had a deal with the Shen clan's envoy. In any case, Snow Wolf King probably wanted to reveal it." "What else do you know?" Xiao Hua asked, seeing that Hu Bo was so cooperative. Hu Bo thought for a moment, then said flatteringly, "Great sage is a great sage of the human race. There are many things that you can see clearly. There's no need for me to say more. And what great sage can't see, I don't have the ability to know either." "Don't flatter me," Xiao Hua said indifferently. "What else do you know?" Hu Bai's eyes turned again and he replied, "Regarding the matter of Demon King Masa's beloved concubine, I heard the Snow Wolf King mention it. It seems like the Great Ape King, the Great Eagle King, or the Holy Mother of Peacock started it. They seem to have seen through the Shen clan's plan." Hu Bo carefully looked at Xiao Hua, worried that Xiao Hua would be dissatisfied. Fortunately, Xiao Hua's expression didn't change. He only frowned and pondered. A moment later, Xiao Hua looked at Hu Bo and said, "At this point, you're already useless to me. I'll either kill you to silence you or let you go. Great sage, spare me." Hu Bo hurriedly shouted. "Just let me go like I'm a fart. I'm just an ordinary Fox clan member. Don't worry, I won't kill you. However, I can't let you go right now." Xiao Hua smiled faintly. He raised his hand, and lightning appeared between his fingers, trapping Hu Qi again. He said, "Your fate will be decided by another person." "Who?" Hu Bo hurriedly asked. Xiao Hua raised his head and looked at the rising sun in the sky. There was an indescribable meaning in his mouth as he said, "A beautiful person." Then, without waiting for Hu Bo to say anything, his mind swept Hu Bo into the space. "Let's go." Xiao Hua flicked his sleeve and said, "I don't know if Hu Bo is good or evil. Let Jiu Xia decide." "Is Jiu Xia kind?" Feng Wu asked with a smile. "In any case, I believe in Jiu Xia." Xiao Hua unhappily rolled his eyes at Feng Wu. He rubbed his hands and several crystal lights fell down, tearing the void apart. Then, he flashed and entered. When Xiao Hua stepped out of the space again, he was already very high up in the sky. The sky of the 10,000 demon realm was different from the three continents. Here, there was still no earth, fire, wind, or thunder, only endless astral winds. An indescribable oppressive feeling came from the sky, pressing down on them. Xiao Hua stood high up in the sky and did not release his divine sense. What the naked eye could see was an extremely large number of clouds. These clouds were different from ordinary clouds. Not only were they not the common cotton-like appearance, but they had many indescribable shapes. What was more interesting was that these clouds were bright and colorful. It looked like the entire sky was a boundless garden. However, just as Xiao Hua and Huang Tong appeared, there were many ripples in the void to their left. These ripples were like a fishing net. They either shrunk towards Xiao Hua and Huang Tong or spread in all directions. In just a moment, more than a dozen Yuan Shen consciousness came from outside the ripples and swept towards them. At the same time, hundreds of birds rushed out from the colorful clouds. Each of them spread their wings and surrounded Xiao Hua and Huang Tong. Call. Huang Tong was similar to Xiao Hua in that he did not like to reveal his aura. He always kept his aura restrained. At this time, when he saw the birds swarming over, he let out a mischievous cry. His aura, which was not very strong, rushed out, scaring the birds and causing them to scatter in all directions. Cough cough. Looking at Huang Tong's somewhat disrespectful appearance, Xiao Hua felt ashamed for him. So Xiao Hua coughed twice and said, "This old man is Xiao Hua. I have come to the Phoenix Sacred World to visit Divine Mother Peacock. Who can help me pass the message?" "Ah! The great sage of the human race, Xiao Hua." Instantly, a bird reacted and cried out in surprise. It would have been better if the bird did not cry out. With a cry of surprise, the birds that were resisting Huang Tong's aura no longer hesitated. They spread their wings and flew towards the clouds in the distance. In a moment, the entire sky was as clean as if a dog had licked it. Xiao Hua was dumbstruck. This situation suddenly made him recall a story he had heard when he was a child. It seemed that whenever there was a scoundrel in the marketplace or a scoundrel in the streets of a small town, there would be a situation where the streets were completely empty. Chapter 48-31. Damn it! Xiao Hua thought, this Xiao's notoriety has spread far and wide. I'm afraid the demon spirits of the 10,000 demon realm will coax their children at night by saying, "Are you going to sleep or not? If you don't sleep, Xiao Hua will take you away." Huang Tong retracted her aura and looked to her left. Then, she asked for Xiao Hua's realm sense and looked at it for a moment. She smiled and said, "There is something wrong with the colorful Phoenix King's realm sense. Although this place is marked as the Phoenix Sacred Domain in the realm sense, the one who appeared just now was not a phoenix." While she was talking, Gua. There was a very magnetic bird cry. A milky white halo flashed in the distant sky. There seemed to be a space portal inside the halo and a swan several hundred feet in size flew out from the halo. Sky Rain Realm. Xiao Hua and Huang Tong looked at each other, their eyes filled with surprise. After all, Sky Rain Realm was Xia Yan's hometown before she was married. Xiao Hua had a good impression of this Sky Rain Realm and didn't want to disturb the swan race. Greetings to the great sage of the human race and the great sage of the phoenix race. That swan didn't wait to fly closer and immediately withdrew her natural arrogance. She slightly lowered her beautiful neck and opened her mouth. "Welcome to Sky Rain Realm, I am Heavenly Blessing Palace's Feather Wind King." Although Xiao Hua had never seen Xian Wan's true appearance, nor had he heard die or mention the relationship between Xian Wan and the master of the Heavenly Fortune Palace, since Xian Wan was able to marry Demon Monarch Masa, she must have some blood relationship with Featherwind Monarch. She should be Featherwind Monarch's junior. Therefore, Xiao Hua didn't dare to neglect and hurriedly returned the greeting. "This old Xiao Hua greets Feather Wind King." Seeing Xiao Hua so amiable and even somewhat humble, Feather Wind King felt strange and hurriedly smiled. "Great Sage is a human on the saint ranking, an existence revered by all in the 10,000 demon realm. You are really making me panic." Xiao Hua smiled and replied, this is the point of view of the spirit race. In the eyes of the human race, strength is important, but etiquette can't be ignored. Mutual respect is the foundation of courtesy. Human race. Feather Wind King's eyes flashed with surprise. I haven't seen a human before, but if the human race is as gentle and elegant as Great Sage, I would like to know more about the human race. There may be a chance in the future. Xiao Hua nodded. Great Sage, may I know why you came to the Dome Rain world today? Featherwind King asked carefully. Hee, what advice can there be? Huang Tong flapped her wings and laughed. I just went the wrong way. We want to make a trip to the Peacock Palace. Oh, I see. Featherwind King finally relaxed. He smiled. This place originally belonged to the Phoenix Sacred World, but a few decades ago, the colorful Phoenix King took a fancy to another domed territory of our Dome Rain world and traded this place for that domed territory. The Great Sage's realm sense might not have changed. Then which direction is the Peacock Palace? Xiao Hua looked left and right at the sky domain that was beginning to fill with smoke and asked. I haven't seen the Holy Mother of Peacock for many days. Since the two great saints are heading to the Peacock Palace, please come with me. It will also save us the trouble of finding two great sages. Featherwind King said while looking at Xiao Hua. Then I'll have to trouble Featherwind King. Xiao Hua agreed with a smile. Please. Featherwind King nodded elegantly. She stretched her neck slightly and then flapped her pure white wings and flew towards a direction. Featherwind King's beautiful figure landed in the clouds. At this moment, within the Dome Rain world, thin clouds like smoke and mist gradually rose. Looking at it, it really looked like a beautiful painting. The swan race is indeed beautiful. Very suddenly, Feng Wu's voice actually appeared beside Xiao Hua's ear, pulling back Xiao Hua's admiring mood. More beautiful than the colorful Phoenix King. Huang Tong said softly in her heart. She flew up with Xiao Hua and landed behind Featherwind King. Yes. Feng Wu smiled. Look at Featherwind King's neither fast nor slow manner. When the astral wind blows, those pure white feathers will flutter. It looks a little messy, but it's so messy that it really makes one's heart beat. It's rare for Phoenix Sage to be moved. Xiao Hua did not have any intention of mocking and said, if possible, how about this shall help you express your feelings? No need. We don't have much time left, let's wait for fate in the future. Feng Wu finished and no longer spoke. Xiao Hua's heart trembled. Counting the time he spent in the demon realm, it was really beyond his imagination. He had to quickly find the way to the Dawn Rain continent. After flying for half a meal's time, in the distant sky, the clouds began to reveal a faint tricolored brilliance. There were already some armored swans soaring in the sky. Seeing Featherwind King flying over, those swans hurriedly flew over to greet him. Featherwind King gave a few orders and the swans led the way to the tricolored brilliance. The tricolored brilliance was born from a huge cloud like a huge flower. Flying close, Featherwind King flapped his wings and a pure white feather flew out. It drew an arc in the sky and fell into the cloud. Boom! A tricolored light spot was born where the feather landed. Then from the sky, whether it was the power of the stars or the energy of heaven and earth, it turned into a hurricane and light pillar. The light spot began to rotate. The light spot became bigger and bigger, like a whirlpool on the sea, it went straight to the depths of the cloud. Great Sage. Featherwind King saw the whirlpool form, turned around and said respectfully, this is the space portal from my Sky Rain realm to the Phoenix Sacred Realm, please follow me in. Thank you for your trouble, Featherwind King. Xiao Hua nodded with a smile. Xiao Hua followed the Featherwind King into the spatial gate. He saw that on the black path in the void, there were 3 intersecting light wheels. It seemed to be beautiful. Between the tricolored light wheel, either black or white light spots were faintly spread out. A space aura similar to a transmission channel gradually poured out from the walls of the void black road. As Xiao Hua and the others flew in, a heavy pressure gradually began to form. The space also gradually condensed and flew into the ripples. In particular, some tricolored light strands broke away from the walls and floated around Xiao Hua and the others. Whoosh. Seeing that a barrier was about to form in front of everyone, a huge force was born from the tricolored light wheels on the walls. This huge force tore the barrier apart. Xiao Hua and the others felt that the condensed space around them suddenly melted like a flood. Their figures rapidly floated forward, they didn't need to use the flying technique at all. When the light wheels around him turned into streams of light, a loud boom resounded. It was as if the light wheels had exploded, and the flowers fell in disorder. Xiao Hua felt his vision blur, and he was once again in a sky filled with light and shadow. The place where Xiao Hua and the others flew out was also a mountain-like cloud. The rippling tricolored light was shrinking rapidly. In front of the cloud, there were some phoenix warriors wearing armor guarding not far away. At this time, because of the activation of the space portal, they were already on guard. But when they saw Featherwind King with a Phoenix warrior behind him and an inexplicable spirit warrior, the leader of the Phoenix guards hurriedly flew over to greet him. After hearing Featherwind King's intention, the Phoenix guards didn't dare to stop him. They hurriedly sent a message to the Phoenix God Palace while leading the way to another space portal. When they came out of the space portal, before Xiao Hua's figure landed, his eyes saw everything in front of him and he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Because in front of him, the seemingly endless sky was filled with dense Buddhist light. Not only that, on the other side of the sky, a huge cloud was like an upside-down Bodhi tree, hanging down from the sky. Around the trunk of the tree, there were many branches and leaves. These branches and leaves were condensed from clouds, and many Buddhist light flickered from these clouds. From the huge Bodhi tree to the space portal where Xiao Hua was, there were also many clouds, and these clouds were also shining with Buddhist light in the shape of Buddhist lotuses. This. Xiao Hua felt a sense of absurdity and couldn't help but mutter in his heart, this 10,000 demon realm actually has a Buddhist sect. However, in just a moment, Xiao Hua woke up again. Because although the Buddhist light was dense, it lacked the indifference of Buddhism, and it didn't have the boundless power of faith. If one used their Buddhist consciousness to examine it carefully, they would discover that this Buddhist light was merely Buddhist light. There was no substantial Buddhist dharma within it. It was like an empty shell of Buddhist light. It was more like a Buddhist light without a source or a tree without roots. Featherwind King's figure landed, and some peacocks flew over from not far away. Featherwind King looked at the Bodhi tree in the distance and whispered, "Great sage, in front of us is Peacock Divine Mother's Peacock Palace. The brilliance and aura here are very different from other places in the 10,000 demon realm. However, every time I come to Peacock Palace, I will feel a sense of peace in my heart. I hope Great Sage won't blame me." Not at all. Seeing Featherwind King's careful words and even some slight flaws in his words, Xiao Hua had some understanding of Featherwind King's character. He smiled, "I am very familiar with the brilliance here, this is also my fate with Peacock Divine Mother, how can I blame you?" "Oh. Is that so?" Featherwind King felt strange, but his face showed a pleasant surprise. Then, "Can Great Sage tell me, what is this brilliance?" Xiao Hua shook his head slightly and didn't answer. Featherwind King was disappointed, but the anxiety in her heart was greatly reduced. She was really afraid when she saw Xiao Hua suddenly appear in Sky Rain Realm, thinking that this fiend was looking for trouble with the Swan clan. Who knew that Xiao Hua would come to Peacock Palace? If it was any other Archfiend King, they would have just pointed out the direction, but Featherwind King was worried that her disrespect would make Xiao Hua unhappy, so she personally sent him off. Along the way, she was very careful and didn't dare to rashly test Xiao Hua's tone. Until here, when she saw that Xiao Hua was very interested in Peacock Divine Mother's Buddhist light, she was relieved and knew that this human great sage who casually killed Great Ape King and Rainbow Lion King was not the fiend that other arch-fiend kings spoke of. Chapter 48-32. The little peacocks guarding the portal naturally didn't know Xiao Hua. They all greeted Featherwind King before greeting Xiao Hua and Huang Tong. However, after greeting them, the little peacocks all looked at Xiao Hua and Huang Tong curiously, waiting for Featherwind King's introduction. They wanted to know who this strange demon spirit and phoenix was. The little peacocks around the Peacock Palace were different from Xiao Hua's cowardice in the Sky Rain Realm and the respect of the phoenixes in the Phoenix Sacred Realm. They were all chattering away, and their eyes were lively and lively. Xiao Hua and Huang Tong couldn't help but smile. Seeing the little peacocks being rude, Featherwind King panicked and hurriedly shouted, "How dare you, this is the great sage of the human race Xiao Hua and the great sage of the phoenix race Huang Tong, how can you be so rude? Ah! You're the great sage of the human race." Who would have thought that it would have been better if Featherwind King did not mention Xiao Hua's name, but when she mentioned Xiao Hua's name, the few little peacocks were all ecstatic. They spread their wings and rushed over to Xiao Hua's side, talking all at once. "We have long heard the Holy Mother mention the great sage. So you actually look so strange." "Ha!" Xiao Hua laughed and touched his nose. "What do you think this old man looks like?" Of course, it has to be someone who looks like us." With a few bold peacocks flying over, the other little peacocks also moved, spreading their tails and flying to Xiao Hua's side. Cough cough. Featherwind King covered her mouth and coughed a few times. She really didn't understand why Xiao Hua wasn't angry when these little peacocks were so rude. Caw. At this moment, under the Bodhi tree in the distance, a peacock's clear cry sounded. A rainbow bridge emerged from the side of the Bodhi tree, crossing the sky and landing in front of Xiao Hua and the others. Divine Mother Peacock's figure flew from the rainbow bridge and said with a smile, "Great Sage Xiao, why did you suddenly come to my Peacock Palace today? I thought you had already left the 10,000 demon realm." AI. Xiao Hua sighed and replied, "This Xiao has encountered a difficult matter, so I specially came to ask Divine Mother for advice." "Oh. What difficult matter? Even with great sage Xiao's strength, he can't deal with it." Peacock Divine Mother was stunned. She then looked at Featherwind King and said, "Thank you Featherwind King for bringing great sage Xiao to my Peacock Palace." Featherwind King didn't dare to be slow. He flapped his wings and bowed, "Greetings, Holy Mother Peacock." "Greetings to the Holy Mother." When the little peacocks saw the Holy Mother of Peacock coming over, they didn't dare to be naughty anymore. They hurriedly scattered and bowed respectfully. "Featherwind King, please rise." Holy Mother Peacock hurriedly helped Featherwind King up and smiled, "Why is there a need to be so polite between us? Great Sage Xiao, you've come to the wrong place and trespassed into my Sky Rain realm. I haven't seen the Holy Mother for a long time, so I came with you." Although Featherwind King and Holy Mother Peacock were both demon kings, she still bowed respectfully in front of Holy Mother Peacock. Since the greetings were over, Divine Mother Peacock said to Featherwind King and Xiao Hua, "This is not the place to talk, please follow me to the Peacock Palace Hall for a chat." Featherwind King hurriedly declined, "No need. I brought the great sage of the human race and great sage of the phoenix race over. I don't dare to delay the matters of the two great sages and Holy Mother Peacock, so I'll take my leave now." "Since you're here, why the rush to leave?" Holy Mother Peacock smiled. How could Featherwind King stay? After a few polite words, he bowed towards Xiao Hua and Huang Tong and flew into the spatial door. Seeing the spatial door slowly disappear, Xiao Hua said in a low voice, "This Featherwind King seems to be too timid and cautious, right?" Hearing Xiao Hua mention Featherwind King in front of her, Holy Mother Peacock knew that Xiao Hua didn't treat her as an outsider. She smiled and said, every demon's personality is different. The swan race has always been like this. If not for the two great sages of the origin race looking after us, Zhongyuan domain. Hee hee. Speaking until here, Holy Mother Peacock didn't say anything more. She raised her wings and said, Great Sage Xiao, Phoenix Sage, please. Okay. Xiao Hua and Huang Tong agreed and landed on the Rainbow Bridge. As the Rainbow Bridge shrank, the Bodhi tree instantly appeared in front of them. Xiao Hua looked around and saw layers of clouds surging under the Rainbow Bridge. Clouds that looked like temples, spiritual mountains, and Buddhist shrines were born. Within the Buddhist light, there were fragmented heavenly flowers dancing in the sky. Even when listening carefully, there were faint sounds of Sanskrit and wooden fish coming from the void. This kind of tranquility was rare in the 10,000 demon realm. The other side of the Rainbow Bridge revealed the crown of the Bodhi tree. When it fell, in the bright Buddhist light, a hall similar to the Thunder Temple appeared. Bodhisattva. Holy Mother Peacock transmitted her voice. Have you seen this hall before? Of course. Xiao Hua didn't hide and nodded. There's a Thunder Temple in the 3 continents that is similar to this hall. Holy Mother Peacock's face lit up and said excitedly, How come, Bodhisattva has seen the current Buddha Lord? Not just the current Buddha Lord. Xiao Hua said meaningfully. I've also seen the past Buddha Lord and the future Buddha Lord. Amitabha. Holy Mother Peacock couldn't help but chant. Bodhisattva is really the Guanyin Bodhisattva who saves people from suffering. Holy Mother, you've been to the Buddhist ruins in the Dawn Rain continent. Xiao Hua suddenly understood and hurriedly transmitted his voice. Buddhist ruins? Holy Mother Peacock was surprised and happy. Could it be? Bodhisattva has been there too? Of course. Xiao Hua nodded with a smile. Good, good, good. Holy Mother Peacock laughed and looked at the peacock guards around the hall. I have something important to discuss with the great sages of the human race and the great sages of the phoenix race. No one is to disturb me. Yes. The peacock guards received the order and flew away from the peacock hall, staying on guard. Please. Holy Mother Peacock politely flew in first. Although the peacock hall was called the peacock hall, it didn't look like a hall inside. Instead, it was an enormous Bodhi tree, which was the exact opposite of the cloud pillars outside. Under the Bodhi tree, there was a shabby praying mat. This praying mat looked ordinary, but strands of Buddhist light came out of it and fell on the Bodhi tree. The Buddhist light on the Bodhi tree shone and penetrated the void. Presumably, the Buddhist light Xiao Hua saw came from this peacock hall. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Xiao Hua's figure had just flown into the peacock hall when his eyes were immediately attracted by the praying mat. Moreover, the abnormally faint and abnormally vast aura on the praying mat rushed over like a wave. Xiao Hua couldn't help but recite the name of Buddha. The golden avatar faded in the Buddhist aura and transformed into the female avatar of Namo Merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva. Seeing Xiao Hua's avatar appear, Holy Mother Peacock was even more certain. She didn't dare to be negligent. The Buddhist light around her flashed and she also transformed into an incomplete avatar of Buddha. This avatar of Buddha was wearing a light white robe with a crown, jade, earrings, bracelets, and other decorations. Its face was humanoid and benevolent. Its wings transformed into 4 arms, each holding an auspicious fruit and a peacock tail. However, although this avatar of Buddha had the outline of a human, most of it was still the demonic body of a golden peacock. Greetings to Namo Merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva. The 4 arms of Holy Mother Peacock put their palms together and bowed their heads. At this time, Xiao Hua reached out and took out the Kunlun mirror. In a flash of brilliance, another Buddhist name that shook the firmament was born from the brilliance. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Maitreya Buddha stepped out of Xiao Hua's space and revealed himself from the crown of the Bodhi tree. As soon as Maitreya Buddha appeared, the Buddhist light in the peacock hall dimmed and the Buddhist aura that filled the space suddenly converged. Ah! Holy Mother Peacock was shocked and hurriedly looked up. When she saw Maitreya Buddha, she shouted in disbelief, "Future! Future Buddha Lord! Namo! Maitreya Buddha!" Maitreya Buddha chanted the name of Buddha and stepped down from the crown of the Bodhi tree. Each step caused a lotus to appear. Each step caused a tremor. Each step caused a layer of Buddhist light to be annihilated. When Maitreya Buddha walked to the front of the praying mat, the peacock hall was silent. There was no Buddhist light at all. Even the Buddhist light outside the peacock hall disappeared. When the peacock hall lost its Buddhist light, not only were the peacock guards outside shocked, but all the peacocks around the peacock hall were in an uproar. They all flapped their wings and flew up, wanting to get closer to the peacock hall. Retreat, retreat. The guards of the peacock palace were surprised, but they still remembered the Holy Mother of Peacock's orders. They flew up to protect the peacock palace and shouted, "The Holy Mother of Peacock has ordered that no peacock can come close." Buzz. At this time, a tricolored vortex appeared where the space portal was. A moment later, a fist-sized ball of light appeared in the sky. As the vortex expanded, the ball of light also gradually grew bigger. The peacocks that were a little panicked earlier hurriedly flew back and guarded around the ball of light. When the vortex turned into a portal that was almost 10,000 feet wide, a pillar of fire rushed out from the portal and landed on the ball of light that was a few thousand feet wide. Woo! A powerful aura covered the area. The Fire Phoenix King's figure became solid in the ball of light. "Greetings, great sage." The little peacocks were very familiar with the great sage of the Phoenix Holy World. They did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly bowed. "Oh. What's going on?" The Fire Phoenix King asked curiously when she saw the change in the light around the peacock hall as soon as she came out of the portal. The peacocks did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly answered, "Yes, great sage." Just now. Unfortunately, before the peacocks could finish their words, the portal behind the Fire Phoenix King flashed again. This time, the light was 9-colored. "Huh, the colorful Phoenix King is here too." The Fire Phoenix King smiled and flew to the side. She flapped her wings and said, "Don't worry. We'll talk when she's here." "You can."